Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
We know they have the best three-man lineup in baseball, with Tyvis to be the best four-man lineup. That is downtown Cleveland. The traffic yesterday was the biggest fraud we've ever heard. We talk about expectations versus reality. We thought it was going to be a pain in the ass getting out of the studio yesterday, getting out of downtown Cleveland due to the home opener, due to the eclipse. And while the eclipse lived up to all the hype, the traffic was nowhere to be found. It was a beautiful problem to have. Tyvis, you stared straight into the sun.
I sure did. Listen.
How do you feel this morning?
I feel good. You know, my vision is still really good.
My fingers might hold up.
Too. I ain't even got to look at it to see it. That's how good, that's how impeccable my vision is. But the thing about it is that looking directly into the sun, it's no fun because you don't get to see the moon. You actually got to put the glasses on to see the whole thing. So I looked up there and I'm like, this is boring. So I put the glasses on.
Did you look up there during totality?
Yeah, I looked. Or you had to take the glasses off.
Well, I was just making sure Tyvis isn't saying I looked at it, but skirting around the truth was you looked at it during totality. You looked at the actual sun.
I looked at it both.
Okay.
Both. I did it before it got to totality, and I looked at it after totality. But when it got to totality, it was actually cool to see like a little ring around the whole thing. But what I was waiting on is I was waiting on a little beam to shoot down to the ground because the aliens were supposed to come. You know, that's what I thought was going to happen.
Tyvis, you got to stay off Twitter, dude.
I was waiting.
Jason, you were.
I thought it would have been the perfect time to see the alien invasion. Like, what would you would have done if you would have just seen aliens just falling out the sky?
I'd have gone back in the press box.
I probably would have just kept drinking my beer.
You know the last place the aliens are going? To a Guardians White Sox game on a beautiful afternoon. With all due respect to the Guardians, the White Sox bring no sort of attraction to the ballpark, which is where Jason Lloyd was for the eclipse yesterday. And some of the pictures from Progressive Field, including some of the ones you took, were pretty spectacular.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool to be there. I live in Avon Lake, which is the line of totality, and we had nobody there. But that was during totality, and I probably didn't stand and appreciate it enough because I wanted to run back and get the ballpark view. So I was in a stairwell outside the press box, and it was the perfect spot to see it. But then when it hit totality, I wanted that shot, which I probably could have taken a little better. I was kind of rushed. Like, you see the bottom of the press box there. Like, I didn't crop it very well. But it was cool, man. It was a cool sight just to run out there and see that and see the stadium all lit up. It would have been cool if they shut the lights off, I think.
That was my big – so I was at is it Victory Plaza between –
I don't know what they call it.
Well, you know the plaza between.
Yeah.
And – you know, they were giving out Uncrustables. They had a stand with 10,000 Uncrustables.
That's why there's Uncrustables in my fridge. I couldn't figure out where they came from.
They were just handing out Uncrustables. It was incredible. I had 4. I had to sample them all, and then I got another Nutella
just
one.
Out of curiosity, what flavor was it?
They had strawberry, grape, and then Nutella, which I had never had.
Which one did you do?
I had one of each, and then I went back and got a second Nutella because it was delicious. You had to try. They were free. They were literally they had too many. They couldn't bring them back. So they were literally just throwing them at people. You walk by, you got smacked in the side of the face. What an Uncrustable. It was incredible. But the lights in the plaza. And we take my picture one more time. Take that tag board again. I wish they had just shut off the light. You could see the lights in the background.
Yeah.
It would have just made the whole scene even darker to really emphasize the fact that we were in true 100% totality. And to the left of that picture is Progressive Field, where I had the lights in the outfield on. But all in all, it lived up to every ounce of the hype.
So cool.
And then some.
Yeah,
and I was in the last eclipse. It was 2017. I was in like 93% totality when I was working in Tennessee. And it got dark, but it didn't get dark.
Yeah.
And to actually see this where it changed from day to night, the temperatures dropped.
Yeah.
It got windy. It got chilly. And then 2 minutes later, it was back to normal, like nothing had ever happened. It was incredible.
Yeah. The maid of honor from our wedding, her and her husband stayed with us, actually. Corey Nicky stayed with us for the last couple of days. He is a rocket scientist. So he builds this stuff that goes to the moon. So he is all about this. So he was giving me the lowdown on it, the breakdown. And if you put the glasses over your phone, you can take pictures of it. But I couldn't figure out how to do it. He got some incredible shots. I put them on my Twitter account.
That.
You got to so the key was to put the filter over your phone, zoom into 20x, and drop the brightness on the camera all the way down, and you get some incredible shots. I'm too stupid to figure that out.
I would have never figured that out.
I could not. I kept sending him these things, like these hatchet job pictures. I'm like, Corey, I can't figure this out. Just give me yours. Like, I just need all your pictures. But and I told him I got home last night. It's like, that was the coolest thing I've ever seen. That was incredible to be part of. And it was funny because, there you go. That was one of Corey's shots, who works with the space program.
It's just a nice flex to say I know a rocket scientist, by the way. That's just a cool little flex to drop into.
Smartest dude I know. Like,
random
way smarter than me.
conversation. Yeah.
And it was funny because they were still with us. They're leaving this morning. And he's showing me, like, these pictures from Artemis, and he's showing me these pictures of the moon and the Earth. I'm like, that's unbelievable. You do that? I'm going to go talk about sports now and whether or not, like, J.B. Bickerstaff should be fired. So, like, we're living in two different worlds here, my man.
We could have talked more about the eclipse. I could have edited the rundown. I send it out at night, so we can change it if you want. It's on you, Jason.
I mean, I don't ever look at that until. Actually, I do look at it. I looked at it last night.
No, it was awesome. Tyvis, you were back in Columbus for it, right?
Yes.
Was Columbus in line of 100% totality as well? Was that?
Well, what the part that I was I'm in Lewis Center, so Powell, Lewis Center, the upper part of Columbus, they were in line of it, which is why it was a ton of traffic once everything was done, and I was upset about that. I made plans at 4 o'clock, not thinking like.
That's bad job.
Yeah, that was dumb. Like, I should have did it so much earlier today, but that's
we had no traffic.
Dumb.
My city, Avon Lake, was supposed to be like the line of total. Like, it was supposed to be the perfect
Like the
viewing
dead spot.
Yeah. So they rented out these limo vans for the weekend. They were supposed to be taking people around town. Nobody showed up. Like, there was one park for tents and one park for RVs, and I went by Sunday night, and there was maybe 10 or 12 tents set up, and there was like 10 or 12 RVs, and they were expecting thousands. So
but
I
if
felt
you're
bad
not,
for the city.
I think a lot of people thought, because that's how my wife was thinking. She was like, "Oh, we'll go up north for it," and then you get to thinking about it. Like, first of all, they scare you with the traffic. They like, "Oh, make sure you get water, make sure you get gas, be ready to sit in traffic and stuff." So I guess a lot of people heard all that stuff and was like, "You know what? If I'm at 99.9 to 99.8 from my house, like, I'm not about to go nowhere."
Well, I guess the forecast for us for the last couple of weeks was supposed to be like heavy cloud cover.
Was not supposed to be. It would turn out to be beautiful.
It was phenomenal.
yesterday.
Yeah,
it was phenomenal.
Which I want to touch on in a sec. But
Yeah.
the weather could not have been any better for the
So
eclipse.
I guess a lot of people, we were watching the traffic patterns. A lot of people from Michigan to Toledo, it was bumper to bumper, of people headed south to try to get to Toledo to see it. But we just didn't get the people at Avon Lake that we thought we were going to get.
And I want to give Gabe a shout out. This picture was circulated all across the
Yeah,
internet
I saw
yesterday.
that.
This was, with all due respect to your rocket scientist friend, this was the shot of the eclipse from Cleveland. Gabe does a great job capturing the city of Cleveland in all its different states, and that was a terrific shot. Just an incredible picture. But before we get into topics today, we may have Justin Hardy, one of the Browns' newest players, former friend of Tyvis Powell, joining us here in a second, which would be an incredible get for UCSS. But the combination of the weather yesterday, the eclipse, and the home opener, downtown Cleveland from 1:30 to about 6:30 was buzzing. And I walked around as soon as we got out of the studio. I walked up East 9th over to the Clevelander to the pregame Guardians festivities, the Parrot, that whole range. I mean, the lines to get into any bar at that point at 2 o'clock were 300 people deep.
Jeez.
It was insane. The lines to get into Progressive Field to watch the eclipse started before, what's that, Ontario that goes in front of Rocket Mortgage?
Yeah.
It was wrapped around from the bleachers, past Rocket Mortgage, wrapped around.
Wow.
It was insane. So between the Final Four this weekend, home opener, the eclipse, just want to give a shout out to the city of Cleveland for putting on a hell of a performance and living up to all the expectations we had hoped for such a monumental weekend, not just in the sporting world, but just in the entire scope of what was happening across the country and on planet Earth yesterday.
Yeah, Cleveland knocked it out of the park, which they tend to do with big events. Like, people can bang on Cleveland, bang on Ohio, and then they get here and they're like, wow. Like, I remember the All-Star was here pre-COVID, MLB's All-Star game, and the city and the weather was perfect, and people left raving about what an incredible job the city of Cleveland did hosting it. And Cleveland, for its size, is pretty good at doing the big events. It was funny with the eclipse, though, and like, it came right in the middle of game prep. So, Tristan McKenzie is out trying to do his bullpen, and he said, we talked to him after the game. He's like, yeah, I kind of forgot about it because he's getting in game mode. He comes out and he goes, oh, yeah, it's the eclipse. He goes, oh, my God, it's the eclipse. And so it just caught some of the players off guard with just how incredible it was. I think a lot of people didn't really know what to expect. But really cool sight, really fun day. Back at it again today at the ballpark against the White Sox.
It was awesome. I just got a thumbs up from Tyvis, so hopefully that means Justin is
He said he about to call in. So
perfect. So we're going to stall for 2 minutes, and then we're going to welcome Justin Hardy of the Cleveland Browns on in a sec. And you want to get a game time reading first, let the people know where they should be buying all their tickets for upcoming events, and then we'll continue to stall until we have the newest Browns special teams ace on the line.
Yeah, guys, with the Guardians now back playing at home, you can save up to 60% buying last-minute tickets for sporting events, concerts, comedy, theater, everything in downtown Cleveland. You can go through Game Time and find your tickets. You can save even more with exclusive in-app deals and select seats ahead of the game or the event. You can get all-in pricing, so you can toggle this feature, and it shows you all the upfront costs, so no surprise fees. All you have to do is download the Game Time app and put in Locked On NFL for $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. You download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
So we'll welcome in Justin Hardy in 1 second. Bull just sent us a text from Rob Demorsky, who covers the Packers, and it says, quote, based on the Packers president Mark Murphy's comments this morning, it sounds like they are preparing to open the season in Brazil against the Eagles. Speaking before the annual tailgate tour, Murphy said, we're either the first or second most popular team in Brazil. If that's the case, that means the Browns would be out of contention to play Philadelphia in week 1 in Brazil, which would open up a plethora of different options to start Cleveland's season off in 2024. We've talked about it a number of times, but Tyvis, were you on board with the Browns going to Brazil to start
it
the
didn't
season?
matter. I mean, would it have been kind of cool to see them play in Brazil? Yeah, but I feel like if they don't go this year, it'll probably be next year or some year in the future. And I think that they'll get there. But I would have liked to have seen them there, to see them go against the Eagles. I thought that would have been a really cool sight, to be the ones to say we were playing in Brazil first. That would have been pretty cool for them.
I didn't care. This is all about me. Everything is always about me and how it impacts me. And I was not going on that flight.
Why not?
Oh,
what is it,
Lord.
10 hours?
Oh, more.
It's longer. He went to
It's more than 10?
You can tell the story, but
I went. The Cavs played a preseason game against the Heat in Rio de Janeiro, LeBron's first year back, 2014. So I took my wife, and we flew through Houston, which was a mistake. That's a tactical error. Go through Miami because it's closer. It shaves a couple hours off. We went Houston to Rio, and I sat middle seat on the way home.
Oh, you shouldn't have
I
did
gave
that.
my wife the window.
Well,
I
you
sat in
won
the
Husband
middle.
of the Year award for that.
Middle seat from Rio to Houston. It was like 14 hours, I think. It was something insane. And I'm like, I will never do that again.
well, let's go from Husband of the Year to potential Special Teams Player of the Year. We are honored and thrilled to welcome Justin Hardy to the show now. Justin, a Glenville grad, a Cleveland guy, and a friend of Tyvis Powell, which means we may have to reevaluate your character, Justin. But thanks again for joining the show, man. How you doing today?
What's going on? How y'all doing?
Justin,
Doing great.
Justin, man, how does it feel, man? You from Cleveland, Glenville, Tar-Bloodder, always rep Cleveland. Even last year when you played against Cleveland with the Jets, you told Joe Flacco to go win one for the city. Now that you are officially a Cleveland Brown, man, first of all, I'm jealous. How do you feel?
It's a blessing, dog. No lie. Couldn't, you can't make it up. Like I said, just coming from Cleveland, which being a Cleveland Brown fan my whole life, I forgot I was just telling somebody we don't have as much in Cleveland. We have the 3 major sports, and we take those very seriously. I just so happen to be a Brown. It's a blessing. It's definitely a blessing. So I'm just can't wait to embrace the opportunity.
Justin, how's this come together? Do you reach out to them? They reach out to you? Do you have other opportunities? Or how is it they contact you, and once you find out they're interested, you jump at it? Or how did this come together?
Yeah. So they reached out to me. I was in talks with a few teams, but Cleveland made the most sense to me. As far as like the time they wanted me, the situation I was in, coming off an injury, so that affected a lot of my contract status. So I feel like this is a great situation for me. 1-year deal with my hometown team. What better year to be with Cleveland than this year. A lot of the guys coming back healthy. Deshaun Watson, a lot of the offensive linemen guys, Nick Chubb. So just to be around that type of stuff, man, is special because I root for the Browns every single week, no matter who I'm playing for. I'm always rooting for the Browns just because I'm a hometown kid, other than obviously when I'm playing against them. So just to be able to be on the other side is, like a dream come true.
Justin, Bubba Ventrone was brought in last season to kind of fix this special teams unit. They made a giant jump from 2022 to 2023 under his tutelage. You are obviously a very accomplished special teams player in your own right. So what are the conversations between you and Bubba been in terms of how he can help elevate your game and how you can help elevate his special teams unit in 2024?
Yeah, man, he just gonna let me play ball. Let me play ball. Let me be free. I'm excited because he was an OG to my OG when I got to New Orleans. Craig Robertson. Craig Robertson is Bubba's like young, is like his protege, and I just so happened to become Craig's, and so once I got the call, and once it all came out that I was going to be, playing with Bubba, he gonna be my coach, man. My boy Craig Robertson, who actually played for the Browns for like 4 to 5 years, about 10 years ago. He called me and just let me know it's gonna be a special year, man, and this is who he always wanted me to, go play for. And just talking to Bubba, I even talked to some guys around the league. Like my boy used to play at Indianapolis, so they said Bubba was, a big fan of mine. So when you go into a situation like that, when you want it, and it's just a blessing, and it just makes you feel that much more confident in what you do, and it makes you want to go hard for that coach, because that coach, he wants you. He wants to coach you. He wants to, be around you and all that kind of stuff, man. So I'm very excited to work with Bubba.
Justin, talk about, your NFL career so far. Obviously, you came in undrafted, but here you are, going on year 8th in the league. Just talk about how you've been able to do that and what's been keeping you motivated, and what's your goals for this upcoming season.
Yeah, each year is different. Each day is different. Just having a mindset. I feel like a lot of this stuff is like a mindset type of thing. I never get too high or too low. I'm always, coming to work day in, day out, just because, you can never take this type of stuff for granted. And, I remember my first day of my, first year compared to now, being in year 8, time definitely does fly, but, you got to stay humble through it all, just because God can easily take it away. Like I was coming off the Pro Bowl in 2022 season, I was on mile high. God humbled me, and I was hurt in 2023, and I would say be able to reflect on that time. It was definitely a humbling experience, but it made me a better person. It made me a better person mentally, and like even in this situation, I'm not in the perfect scenario situation that I thought I was going to be in. This is more of one of those times where I got to get it out the mud. Like I'm not going into, like I'm going to make this team, like this different situation. So I kind of like it, because now it makes me uncomfortable, and I like being in an uncomfortable situation, because now it's going to push me. And I'm ready for it. Like I'm not nervous. I'm not scared of any of those guys. I'm not scared of So I'm just ready for the situation.
Justin, obviously you've made your mark on special teams. What makes a good special teams player? What's the most important part?
I think it's just to want to. A lot of guys really don't want to do it. A guy, you look on the NFL, you see the stars, right? You see the stars. Everybody see the top defensive guy, the top offensive guy. They see that this guy's getting paid $20 million, this guy getting paid $10 million, $5 million. So a lot of guys really don't want to do the dirty work, and you got a guy like me who trying to get it by any means necessary. So however I got to get it, that's how I'm gonna get it. And just with my mindset alone, I'm going to win, just because I know you don't want this more than I do, and this is how I feed my family. So that's just how I approach it.
You see Tyvis getting hyped behind you can't see him behind the graphic, but Tyvis getting hyped about you talking.
That's what I'm talking about. Let's go, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
No.
Justin, what do you as someone who's carved out a role in the NFL and a very successful one on special teams, what do you make of the NFL changing the new kickoff rule to implement these new XFL policies, where it should bring back more of the kick return, but kind of eliminates a different aspect of the game from the gunner side?
Yeah.
Defense.
Yeah. Well, I was with, New York Jets for the past 3 years, and we really didn't kick off much. Like, we really didn't, it was a lot of touchbacks. So that was, a lot of missed opportunities for me. My Pro Bowl year, I had, one tackle on kickoff. All of my tackles was on punt. So I believe adding this to my game, adding kickoff to punt, man, I'm so excited. And it'll be new, and I have to master it, and I have to learn it. And I have to, get, competitive reps and all that kind of stuff. But I'm willing to do all that stuff, man. I'm willing to sacrifice. I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to study. And, it's just, like I said, just give me another opportunity to make plays. And, I'm appreciative of that. Like I said, it was kind of limited last year just because of the, the touchbacks. Or the past few years, we just weren't a team who was, who were just willing to just, kick it to opponents like that. Like, it just, I'm not sure why, but, that is what it is. I'm in a new situation now. I'm in Cleveland now, and I feel like with this new kickoff rule, I'm going to dominate, and I can't wait to, make it happen. I can't wait to, put my defense in, in better field position and, help our team win by any means necessary.
We get 53 guys like Justin on a team with that mentality, and the Browns are going to be in great shape in 2024. Justin, it is crazy, though. In college, you played receiver, and I just looked at your stats.
I did.
Going through the game logs, and against Ohio State in particular, when Tyvis was there,
you
had 4 catches for 54 yards, and I'm assuming those all came in one-on-one coverage against Tyvis, right? That had to have been one-on-one. You're calling for the ball. Tyvis can't check me. Get Justin Hardy the rock, right?
Nah, man, my boy Tyvis, him and Von Bill was nice back there. I can't lie. I feel like they was probably one of the better duos in Ohio State history. Obviously, they're national champions. So that's something that you can, you can't make up. Like, numbers lie. I mean, men lie, women lie. Numbers don't. And, their numbers that they're champions. I definitely, I kind of miss my wide receiver days. And, a lot of people don't even know that about me, that I play wide receiver. But, I'm a defensive guy now, and I embrace that to the ultimate fullest. And, I don't make up any excuses. So, just any means necessary.
I got one last one before we let you go. So last week, Deshaun opened up Lefties, his cheesesteak spot in University Heights. Did you catch your head coach wearing the Glenville Tar Blooders hoodie?
I did. That was dope, man. That was dope just to, get that kind of support, from the head coach. I mean, you can't make it up. Like, I didn't talk to him. I didn't know that was going to happen. And what's so crazy, he already had the Glenville hoodie. So it's just raw, the simple fact that after he signed the Glenville kid, the next day he supports Glenville. Like I said, man, that type of stuff you just can't make up. That's just the character of, our coach. That's why I'm very excited, to play for him, man. Just meeting with him. I was just telling my family, out of all the coaches I loved all the coaches when I met them all, but the difference was like the head coach, man. It was just something that was just new to me, something that I wasn't used to, just to be able to, just the type of person he was. And, like I said, I just can't wait to play for him, just my type of guy, man. And all the coaches, man, like my cornerback coach, man, remind me of my old cornerback coach with the Jets, like, family first, like person first. They care about the person first. And when you got coaches like that, man, that care about the person first, man, the football gonna take care of itself, man. We've been doing this for over 20 years, and it's we blessed enough to do it. So I feel like when you got guys who care about your mental, man, let's go.
Yep. I feel it. Well, Justin, man, we appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Justin.
We appreciate you coming on, man, and I just want you to know, bro, Bogey's looking down on you. He proud of you, man. Mom Duke's looking down. She proud of you, man. Go make the city of Cleveland proud of you, bro. I'm proud of you. Can't wait to watch you. You know I'm going to be sitting there cheering you on, celebrating every tackle. Every time you get a tackle, I'm going to be crunked. I might pop. We gonna celebrate, man. So just enjoy being a Cleveland Brown, man. You living the dream, man. Salute to you.
Salute, bro. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, too.
Justin, thank you so much, man. Best
Thanks,
of luck,
Justin.
and we can't wait to see you in a Browns uniform in the coming months. Thank you.
All right. See y'all. Thank y'all, man.
Awesome. That was Justin Hardy, the Browns' newest special teams ace, a 2020 Pro Bowler, another weapon in the arsenal for Bubba Ventrone heading into next season. And Ant, we're started talking Browns. We'll talk Guardians and Cavs in a little bit, but let's keep the Browns train rolling after a quick ad break.
Yeah, you guys have an Ultimate Cavs show coming up today. Mike, Jason, what are you guys going to be talking about?
We do have an Ultimate Cavs show, and that is at 5 o'clock. Jason will be live from Progressive Field, a little change of pace.
I got to find a quiet corner
He
somewhere.
has to find a quiet corner. We're going to talk about some ways to fix the Cavs and whether or not it's possible in the final 3 regular season games. And we're also going to rank the top 10 most recent NBA champions to figure out where that 2016 Cavs team ranks among the best of the best.
I know where it ranks.
Jason is confident.
Sheesh.
I don't know if I'm as confident, but he was there and I wasn't, so I may defer to the OG on this one. I don't like giving Jason props when he's right, but
I usually am.
Whoa. Whoa.
we'll see how that one goes. Make sure y'all tune in at 5 o'clock. If you missed it, Bull and Zach went live at 10 a.m. this morning on the Ultimate Guardian show, so you have 2 Ultimate shows coming at you guys today on the UCSS channel after we wrap up here at 1 o'clock. Ultimate Cavs, though, 5 o'clock. We'll see you guys then. All right, Greg Newsome. The Browns have a decision to make by May 2nd. They have to decide whether or not to pick up their former first-round pick's fifth-year option, excuse me. If they do decide to pick it up, his salary cap number will be $13.37 million next year, which ranks in between 15 and 20 in the league, right in that range for average annual salary at $13.37 million. Tyvis, you played DB in the league, so I'll start with you here. Should the Browns pick up Greg Newsome's fifth-year option or let him play out this season without picking it up, which would be his final year on his current deal?
They should 100% pick up his fifth-year option, and I think they will 100% pick up his fifth-year option. Listen, G. New is a guy that, you drafted him to be CB2, and, to this point, he's been that. But he's also taken the role of sliding into that nickel position. And for whatever reason, it was a lot of riffraff about him playing nickel because it was foreign to him. And, like I say, you understand that nickels they don't break the bank like outside corners do. But for him, he embraced that role last year. And he became a really big piece on that defense. And a lot of people, people like this all season, it started off with like, oh, we could trade G. New and move up to the first or second round and get another pick for him. But it's like, you don't get rid of good corner play when you have it. You hold on to it for as long as you can, because if you move off of that guy, you better be darn sure ready to know that the next guy that's behind him can replace him and be as good, if not better. And I think the Browns are in a situation we don't know that 100% yet. So I think that you got to ride this train out with G. New after let him do the 5 years, and then if he's really being productive in that nickel spot, then it's time to sit down and have a conversation with him. But I think it's too early for them not to do that. He hasn't done anything for them to want to move on from him. He was the spark on defense with energy. When Denzel goes down, because he does, which Denzel, we need to fix that. We really do. When Denzel goes down, nobody blinks an eye. Why? Because G. New going to slide back out there. Things is still going to be, we still going to be able to win games. He's still going to be productive out there. This is a man who got a pick 6. After this man, Jason, right here said, getting interceptions is just not his thing.
His thing.
He told you, he said he was sick of your baloney.
It took him 47 games.
Real quick.
It was baloney.
Does he? And listen, I like that. Does he get full credit for a deflected pass?
Listen,
that was a punt return. Like,
Wait a minute. You know how many people would drop that pass?
You.
What's wrong with you today? the eclipse that made you lose your mind. Don't talk about me like
listen,
that.
He gets credit, but I'm just saying it wasn't like. And listen, it was a great play. Obviously, the pick 6 changed the game. It allowed the.
So you didn't like the.
No, his celebration.
Look, come on now. He had everybody rocking on the defense. Listen, fact of the matter is, he has become a very good piece on this defense, and I don't think everybody's like, we got Cam Mitchell. Okay, I agree with you. Cam Mitchell has looked good at times, but I need to see Cam Mitchell for a full season before I'm ready to just move off of G. New. So I think I'm big on keeping corners. Corners to me is very important. When you got a good one, you hold on to him for as long as you can.
And it is worth pointing out he did have another real interception later in the season. So when Jason said he doesn't get picks, well, he got the moonshot
for his first
and then he did get a real pick later.
I just said picks ain't his thing, and they're not, but that's okay.
What would you do, Jason?
He got you 2 this year.
I agree with everything you said, and I also think it goes a little bit deeper than that. When when you're trying to build an organization and you are as toxic and dysfunctional as the Browns have been for 20 years, you got a lot of work to do. And it's about, like, Cleveland has never been a free agent destination. We say that in all sports, and it's true. But one way that you can build yourself into being a free agent destination, or at least having the respect of players around the league, is to take care of the guys that you have here. And by picking up this option, you're taking care of Greg, because you put him in an uncomfortable position he wasn't used to by putting him in the slot. He didn't like it. He's talked openly about why he didn't like it and some of the things about it. But the fact is, you asked him to do something he wasn't comfortable doing, and he did really well at it. So now you reward him and pick up that fifth-year option and pay him like a CB2, even if he is CB3 on this team. And that'll go a long way with guys around the league. If you screw your own players, word gets around fast. If you take care of your guys, word also gets around fast. And I'll compare it to the Njoku contract, which looked overbloated at the time. Doesn't look so bad now, but at the time when he signed it, we all was like, damn, that's a lot of money for David Njoku. I absolutely believe part of that was Kevin Stefanski telling him when David was asking for a trade and when David was asking out, and Stefanski got him back in the boat. And I don't know this, nobody told me this, but it makes perfect sense to me that Kevin said, trust me on this, and we're going to take care of you. And they did. It's the same thing with Newt. You could trade him. I agree with you. Like, I kind of like Cam Mitchell in that slot. But you need to see it again. If you see it again next year and he does it again next year, now you can have the conversation about what do you do with Greg Newsome? Do you need to trade him? But they picked up Jed Will's fifth-year option. Of course they're going to pick up Greg Newsome's fifth-year option.
That's why I said that's not even a question. They're going to pick it up.
You guys all make great points, and I agree. You 100% picked this up without question for two reasons. First one being, there are certain positions you can never have enough depth at.
Yeah.
Cornerback is one of them. And to Tyvis's point, Denzel is not a beacon of health. No offense.
We go trade. We
Hopefully
changing
it
that. We changing that this year.
No,
17 games right here.
Happening.
You heard it first.
That ain't
Denzel Ward, 17 games this season.
I'd take 14, 13, 14.
Either way, it's a position that goes through injuries. It just happens. It's part of the game. So depth of that position is crucial. And two, for the Browns to reach the Super Bowl, not win the Super Bowl, just to reach the Super Bowl, they have to get through some combination of Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Lamar, Stroud. That might be your 5 best quarterbacks in all of football right there, by the way. Herbert, Lawrence. I'm probably forgetting someone else.
Russ.
That was an intentional omission. But you get my point. To get to the Super Bowl, the Browns have to stop the most prolific passing offenses in the entire league. And what is the best way to stop a prolific offense? You have guys who can cover one-on-one, so guys like Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith and whoever else they bring in off the defensive line can get pressure on the quarterback and wreak havoc in the backfield. So to me, this is a no-brainer. And even if you do give him that $13.37 million fifth-year option, and pull up the cornerbacks that are making similar money to what Greg Newsome would make if they do indeed pick up his fifth-year option, 13.37 puts you right in the same conversation with Travarius Ward, Jamel Dean, Darius Slay, Cheeto Awuzie. Those are all good quarterbacks.
Travarius Ward only getting 13.
That's my point. It is a very, very, very fair price tag for a guy in Greg Newsome, who is a good cornerback too. I don't think he's a CB1. He's a good cornerback too. He's cornerback 3 on this roster.
Now it doesn't.
And you're not paying Martin Emerson yet, which can allow you to overpay for your CB3 in this scenario because CB2 is not getting paid. It's a no-brainer to me. You have to pick this up.
It is an overpay for a slot corner, right? Are we in agreement on that? It's an overpay for a slot corner. But this is more than that. There's more to it than just this isn't a typical slot corner.
No, this is a guy that slides out. He goes outside as well because you know that your number one guy gets hurt. So you, like I say, you need a guy that can protect it. And when they go base defense, is it him or Martin?
Martin's on the outside when they go 2.
When they go just 2 corners.
Yeah, it's Martin.
It's Martin and Denzel. I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But their base is a 4-2-5.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
the whole NFL is 4-2-5. I was just asking, just for.
Martin's outside.
To Jason's point though, like he does play slot, but he has the positional versatility to move outside if needed. He's also a guy you drafted in the first round. To Jason's point, you want to do right, buy your own guys, and he's also a really good football player. Now he gets overlooked here because of the emergence of how good Martin Emerson's been in his first 2 seasons. Because Denzel Ward, when he's on the field, is a top 5-6 cornerback in all of football. And yes, sometimes when you leave him on an island, like we saw against Houston in the playoffs, he can be taken advantage of by the top receivers in football. But for his specific role on this Cleveland Browns defense, as a guy to cover guys from the slot and take away your number 2 or 3 option, depending on how the offensive formation is set, there aren't many cornerbacks capable of doing what he does at the level he does. So for $13.37 million, whatever the actual number is, maybe it's a slight overpay for a slot corner, but the combination of him and Martin Emerson, who's on a third round draft pick salary still, that combination is pennies for a
he
great
got 2 years left.
2 years left
in his deal.
So if you do it and then decide, all right, Cam Mitchell's next up and you got to move, you can still trade him next year.
Yeah, I mean,
that salary's not unmovable. It's not something you can't get out of.
No, not at all.
I think it's a no-brainer.
And I also give Kevin Stefanski credit for getting him to buy back in, because obviously under Joe Woods, that's where Geno had the most. He didn't like it. He didn't like what they were doing, what the nickel had to do in those things, because he was heavily involved in run fits and stuff like that, which they are, because I played in that defense, so I understand what he's talking about there. But it's nice to get Jim Schwartz to come in there and get him to buy back in, and now he actually wants to stay a member of the Cleveland Browns. So that's all cool as well. Kevin does a really good job of getting people to buy in, because to your point about David Njoku, when he asked for the trade, he even said that he was ready to be done with Cleveland, but him and Kevin rebuilt their relationship just like this past year, and he's bought back into this organization as well. So I give Kevin Stefanski a lot of credit on getting guys to buy back in and making sure that it's not just about themselves.
How hard is that? When a dude says, I'm out,
Man.
How hard is it to get him back in? It's almost impossible.
Because I mean, you try to get your teammates, your teammates is usually the ones that can really help you be like, you know what, like, I like it here, like, y'all, I rock with y'all. It'd be the upstairs. It's always the upstairs. Like, it's never the team. It's sometimes not even really the coaches. It's the people upstairs that you be having to beef with, because they are so business. But down here, it's personal, because you with these guys every single day. And when somebody say they done and like they wanna trade, it's very hard. Because now you telling everybody, like, all your team is like, listen, I love y'all, but, like, I can't stay here. They're not going to take care of me. So to get a coach to be like, listen, I know right now the situation is not great, but I'm going to help you put you in a position to get the money that you want. It might not, maybe you won't break the bank, but we can get you close to the money that you want. But I need you to realize how important you are to this team. I need you to realize that if you leave and walk out, the hole that you're going to leave us with. And I want you to realize how special this season could be if you just buy into what I'm telling you. Right now, you can't see it, but if you trust me, I promise you that if you buy in, I will make sure that you get taken care of. If a coach tells you that and you believe that coach and you know he's not full of BS, that will get you to come back.
Let me ask you this before we move on to our next topic. What we've seen from Greg Newsome through 3 seasons, what's the one area you think this offseason he needs to improve upon the most? To be, I don't want to say worth that 5th-year option pickup, but to improve his game to a point.
He just needs to make more plays on the ball. He needs to get more interceptions.
How do you do that?
How do you do that? Well, it's a lot of things.
Drills? Is it a mindset?
So it always is a mindset, first of all. It's a confidence thing. But for him, when I watch it, he just has to be in better position, and that's the thing. It comes with winning at the line of scrimmage, making sure that you're on top of the routes, make sure that you're in a place that you're comfortable, that you can make a play. And when the ball goes up, you have to think to yourself, this is my ball. I need to make this play. So, he's going to get more opportunities because of the pass rush. So quarterbacks are going to get rid of it either early or they're going to throw it extremely late, which is going to allow him to be able to recover to make plays on the ball. He just needs to make more interceptions. If he gets more interceptions, I say he gets 4 to 5 interceptions this year, his stock goes through the roof, because now this is a guy that's doing one of the most single best things you could do as a defensive player, get the ball back to your offense. So if he does that, you can't deny a guy that's getting interceptions. Tackles is cool. Even PBUs is okay. But how do you get somebody to fear you is take the ball. If you're going to knock the ball down as an offensive coordinator, all right, we're going to go back and try it again, because 50% of the time he might get it. But if you actually getting picks, I'm scared. That guy's dangerous. We can't mess with that guy.
And he's going to get opportunities because they're going to throw at him before they throw at
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. So we're on agreement. Browns, it's an easy decision. May 2nd's the deadline. Listen to us. We're smart guys. Pick up the 5th-year option. And what's next?
The chat and the community are listening to you guys, actually, because we have, in combination, over 1,000 votes. 86% across our community tab and our chat today say absolutely pick up the 5th-year option and keep Newsome here in Cleveland. So, Newsom, we hope you stick around. We hope the Browns pick it up.
Yeah, I'm curious if anyone who said no in that, the reasoning behind the no is just you don't believe he's that good of a player.
They'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, and just keep an eye on it. If you said no to that, what was your reasoning to say no? I'm just
Cam
really
Mitchell?
curious. Yeah, I guess
Probably.
it Cam Mitchell.
I'll make sure to keep an eye on it.
Yeah. All right, what's next, Ant?
Well, before we get into our next topic, a lot of us spend our lives wishing we had more time, and therapy can help you find what matters the most to you so you can do it more. If you're thinking about starting therapy, no better way to do it than giving BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online and designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you have to do is learn what makes you happy with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. So guys, Mike sent me this video last night and was like, I think the Browns may be getting a little too much hype. What do you think? And we were kind of going back and forth on it, so I wanted to pitch it to you guys. We have, I'm blanking on my names here, Patrick Peterson saying that he is most excited to watch the Browns.
He was on Good Morning Football. Give you a little context. He was on Good Morning Football.
We'll play the video here in a second.
Yeah, he was on Good Morning Football. They asked him, which team are you most excited about entering 2024? And here's his answer.
Like that.
I'm going to go with the...
Really?
Yeah.
Go for it. Let's
Cleveland
hear it.
Browns. It don't fit that well on my head, but it'll work.
That's right. It's the
I'm
chair.
going to go with the Cleveland Browns just because I like what Steve and the coaching staff have been able to do over there in Cleveland. Having a #1 defense last year kind of fell off the rails a little bit with some injuries and guys not really, able to finish the season for them. But you get Deshaun Watson back.
Yep.
You have weapons outside now that's able to help Amari Cooper. You have tight ends that can get open. So I'm really, really giddy to see how this team is going to finish the season this season versus how they finished last year.
Okay, Watson. What's your read on Watson? Forget, whatever. Now that he's a player on the field, when you're defending a Deshaun Watson, what's your read on him? And is that someone that you're still scared about in the league? Because we haven't seen that football from him. We saw a glimpse in that Ravens game that he got hurt.
That's the big question, that we haven't seen enough football from him as of late. But Deshaun is a guy who's very elusive in the pocket, who can extend plays, who's also crafty enough to win those ball games late in those games when need be. So he has talent around him. Now it's all going to be upon him to stay healthy on the field and be there when the team needs him.
Like that.
So when this clip came out, a lot of the initial replies were, oh no, too many people are hyping up the Browns. There's too much hype on the Browns bandwagon too early. We don't know about the draft picks. We don't know about Deshaun Watson. Is this too much too early? And my initial response to that, guys, was, do you know who's scared of expectations? And do you know who is worried about too much hype? Losers. That's who. You think the Chiefs are scared that teams may pick them to win the Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes under center and Travis Kelce and Andy Reid? You think when LeBron was here in Cleveland, they were shying away from the expectation that they should be the front runner to win the NBA title? The only teams who are scared of preseason expectations and too much proverbial off-season hype are teams that frankly aren't that good. I want all the smoke. For the Browns, I want them in Brazil. I want them in China in week 2. I want them in Japan. I want them on a world stage. I want every eyeball on this planet, all 7 billion sets of eyes, to be watching the Browns each and every Sunday when they play football. I want the expectations. You know why? Because the Browns should want them too. If you know you're good, what are you scared of? And I think this Browns team can be damn good in 2024. So yeah, Patrick Peterson and Peter Schrager and Kyle Brandt and anyone else in the national media, bring on the hype for the Browns. Because I think they could be good. I know the players on the team think they'd be good. We just talked to Justin Hardy. He said they should be damn good in 2024. So I'm not scared of any preseason hype or preseason expectations. That's the kind of smoke I want. Jason?
Every time they get hyped up, they put their shoes on the wrong feet and they throw up all over themselves. So hopefully this year is different.
That's a fair counterpoint. That is, to everything I just said, that is a good rebuttal. That was rude. And
What in the world?
It's true.
You see that? Bow.
No, but having said that, they better produce this year. It's again, we'll talk about the Cavs in a minute and what's at stake for them in this postseason. Well, the same's true of the Browns. These guys ain't getting any younger, and Miles is in the prime of his career, and this make or break year for Deshaun, and on and on and on. All things we've talked about and we'll continue to talk about from now until September. So Has he signed with another team, by the way?
Who?
Patrick Peterson?
No, he's still a free
He's
agent.
still a free agent?
Yeah.
That's interesting to me that he's still out there.
He's like 40.
I know, but I didn't think he was that bad last year. Did you? And
No, and he
plays
moved to safety
too.
yeah, he can still play.
Yeah, I mean, he's 40 though.
He might just
40.
want to skip camp.
That too.
He ain't 40.
That too.
that's-
I mean,
he's
he like 30.
He's-
What is he? 36?
I don't know. How old is he?
I'll look it up.
I'm pretty sure he like 35.
I was just thinking while he was
36.
talking, I was like, man, I don't remember him signing with anybody.
No, I
Maybe
mean,
he's done, and that's why he's now doing.
probably
He's 33.
Yeah, 40. Get out of here with that mess.
close enough.
His middle name's Demon.
Patrick Demon Peters.
That's such a badass
That is
name.
pretty cool.
Is that how you pronounce that, though, Mike?
What would it be like?
Demon?
Damon?
According to his Wikipedia, it's DE''MON.
Oh, I don't have the apostrophe. I'm looking at.
Damon.
Damon makes a lot more sense than Patrick Demon. There's not an apostrophe in this.
All right, back to the
Oh, shoot.
back to the Browns though.
That would be the greatest middle name of all. Sorry, Tyson,
Demon?
but
Well,
yes.
when you have a kid, you can call him Demon. When you,
I don't think it has to be named Demon for it to be a
when
demon.
you have a little nugget running around,
a little nugget.
call him Demon.
All right, Thomas, what do you think about preseason expectations? You played. Did you welcome the preseason hype? Did you like having those type of expectations entering a season? You were at Ohio State, so clearly you guys had them.
The thing about all that is, it doesn't matter because if you got a good coach, he's gonna humble you anyways. He gonna say, don't pay attention to none of that. And at the end of the day, none of that stuff even matters. Like what you did last year don't even matter anymore. You know, because the fact of the matter is you didn't win it all. So with that being said, that you should be like hyped up, energized, ready to get to the season because y'all know in that building, y'all know how special y'all was. Y'all know what y'all should have done last year. And y'all, like as y'all say, picked the wrong day to have a bad day. And that cost y'all everything. And with that being said, this year y'all can't have no excuses no more. And this is the thing. Last year I think y'all crept up on a lot of people. A lot of people just thought, oh, that's the same old Browns. The Cleveland Browns on the schedule, oh, that's a W. And they got out there and y'all hit them in the mouth. And now they woke up. Now they know what to expect from y'all. So games will be totally different this year because now to try to beat the Cleveland Browns, you have to be as physical. You have to match the physicality that they have. You got to be as smart as the coaching staffs over there. So you're not creeping up on anybody. You're really going to have to really fight a lot of games and battle a lot of games to win these games this season. But I think that it starts with the players over there. Y'all gotta as crazy as this may sound, and this is nothing that you could control, but y'all gotta find a way to stay healthy. If y'all stay healthy, a lot of things change. But the fact that y'all weren't healthy, that just opened up a door for excuses. So y'all gotta find a way to stay healthy this year. Secondly, y'all been to the playoffs. Y'all seen what happened when y'all got to the playoffs. Y'all gotta make sure that y'all are ready for whatever. Y'all gotta be ready to die about this stuff in the playoffs because as you see, it's a totally different game in those playoff matches. So you gotta get better there. And y'all got to find a way, whatever this home and away field stuff is, you got to fix those things as well. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I actually preferred to play on the road more than I did at home because I just like the villain role a little bit more. Y'all got to embrace that. Y'all got to embrace being the villain. Y'all got to embrace making the crowd, telling the crowd to shut up and sit down for a second because I'm not done. That's where you got to be at this season. And if you do those things, then you ain't got to worry about no preseason hype because you will be that deal for sure.
Real quick, you mentioned the home road split. You like being the villain. Do you think that comes from playing at a school like Ohio State where you were every opponent's?
You're always.
Oh, we was the
Like,
Super Bowl.
That's what I'm saying.
We was everybody's Super
So
Bowl.
you had that mindset. But for a guy, for someone else, like Cam Mitchell, who played at Northwestern, where
He went to the Big Ten championship. He was a villain.
I'm just using an example.
I hear what Mike's
like
saying.
when you're
Northwestern ain't Ohio State.
Yeah.
I don't care if we're going Big Ten championship.
So is that a mentality that you think was developed prior to Ohio State, or is that something you learned at Ohio State?
No,
Where
I
a guy who
probably
went to a different.
No, I
school-
learned it at Ohio State because I understood the fact that I was everybody's Super Bowl. Everybody wanted to be the reason why the Buckeyes didn't win a national championship. Because if you beat us, you probably be one of the only teams that put an L in that column. So I had to play extremely outside of myself in every game. I couldn't look at games and be like, it's that we could take this game off. It's Purdue, we could just chill. Like I couldn't do that because Well, I wasn't there for that, but
Just saying, like,
yeah,
that
stuff
happens.
like that happens. So yeah, maybe it did develop in college. But listen, they got the right coaching staff. They coaching staff know what it takes to win championships and win games. And the thing about it is, they found out this past season what they need to do. They need to be better on the road. It should be no excuse for why y'all can't win games or be as productive on the road. Like there's not that much of a difference to it. Like outside of the crowd, it's not that much of a difference.
When you look at some of the guys on this Browns roster who are in a position where they have to play well this season, and I'll use Deshaun for an example. You know, when he was at Clemson, it wasn't like expectations, especially preseason expectations, weren't heaped upon his teams. He won a national championship. They were expected to repeat. He's used to that. There are guys up and down this roster on offense and defense. Not everyone was in a situation similar to Ohio State or Clemson for Deshaun. But it's not like these guys are foreign and unaccustomed to having. Even last year, we thought this team was going to be pretty good. Now, I don't think we thought they'd win 11 games with 4 different quarterbacks and 5 if you count Jeff Driscoll. But this isn't a new situation for them. And hopefully, to Jason's point, they've learned some lessons in those past expectations that led to failures that they can correct this time around.
Yeah.
I don't know what those are. I mean, it's easy to say. Yeah, individually, it's harder to figure out. But hopefully they learn
It's
their
a talented
lessons.
team. It's a talented roster. Like I said all last year, they could go 10-6, 10-7. You go, yep. They go 7-10. You go, yep. Like nothing would really surprise you. Now 7-10 would certainly be a surprise. They got to build off where they are, and it all comes down to Deshaun. Heard that again yesterday at the Guardians game, talking to people. It all comes down to 4.
But we said that last year.
We did.
It came down to Deshaun.
Did it?
He wasn't there when they needed him.
I
in the
think so,
playoffs.
yeah.
Oh, and everybody, it was.
Their ceiling was so much higher with Deshaun.
I agree with that statement,
So, yeah.
but a lot of people would argue that the offense was better without him.
That offense did look better at times without him.
Okay.
It did.
Okay.
It did.
When push came to shove, it didn't though.
I'm
Right
just
up
saying.
until- right
I'm
up
just
until those
saying.
pick sixes.
What don't do that. What I would say is that they built the right mindset. I mean, we had D'Anthony Bell sit right here in this chair, and he said that like it didn't matter, and it was at a point where it didn't matter who went down. We was just finding ways to win games, and they built the right mentality.
It is incredible.
It is.
Incredible to
It
watch.
is.
But
And
ultimately, they did win a playoff game.
they did not.
So
Can I ask you a question as a former player? So the 2 miraculous things about the Browns last year. Despite all the injuries, they won games, especially at the quarterback position. 4 different quarterbacks won a game. They also won 11 games despite leading the league in turnovers, which never happens. You lead the league in turnovers, you're typically drafting the top 5 of the draft. That is a trait of a bad football team.
That's a fact.
Now, granted,
I was in that boat before.
part of the reason they had so many turnovers was the quarterback play. So they're tied together. It's not exclusively one and exclusively the other. It's a combination of the both. But when you look forward to 2024, Tyvis, you would hope the quarterback plays more stable just based off the injury situation. Do you believe in turnover luck? And
Yes, that's real.
And they had 33 turnovers in
That's real.
2023.
Usually it flips every year.
So I'm not asking you to predict a number, but you go from leading the league, where do the Browns need to be in 2024 to be a true contender? Middle of the pack? Bottom 10 in turnovers?
I mean, if they bottom 10 in turnovers, that right there wins you at least 3 more games. Like, that's a fact. Because everybody knows that the plan to win is play great defense, run the ball, take care, or create takeaways. So if you do those 3 things, 9 times out of 10, you'll win those games. But for them to be successful, I mean, they'll be fine if they're a middle of the pack team. But I think that'll be a heavy emphasis this year. Of taking care of the football and the quarterbacks. The thing about the quarterback is, I think with Joe, Joe was on some, and I think Jameis is the same way. It's just on some, I'm going to let this thing rip. Like, it is what it is. If I see it and I trust my arm, I'm going to just let this thing rip.
I live with the result.
Yeah, I live with it. But, because at the same time, if I thread the needle, I'm the greatest thing ever.
It's Amari Cooper against Chicago.
Right. So Deshaun is a little bit more conscious of that, but he also is on the I'm trying to score every play too. So I think they got to reel it back a little bit, realize that, hey, every play can't be a touchdown. Some plays is setting things up. And a lot of times you just got to live to see another day. If it ain't there, just don't force it. Live to see another day. Take the check now or use your legs and pick up a couple yards. And I think that's the part that everybody got to evolve to, which I think Deshaun is much more capable of doing that than Jameis or Joe Wood because he's more mobile anyways. And he's already won a game where he had to use his legs a little bit in the second half against Baltimore. So I think for Deshaun, for him, it should be about moving the sticks, move the chains, just move the chain. Whatever I need to do to move the chains and not force it. If it's there, of course, take it, let it fly. But if it's not there, you don't need to thread the needle. Just stay ahead of the sticks.
You know what I just thought of as you were saying that? Remember when Mahomes first came into the league?
Oh, he was letting it fly.
And he just letting the rip put up these crazy numbers.
Then Tampa Bay started putting their safeties 30 yards deep that made him take check downs.
That's what I'm getting to. Deshaun hasn't played since that happened. Or he's played the 12 games, but he sat out, came back. When he was in Houston, he was a guy that was pushing the ball downfield.
Well, he had one of the best deep balls in the game.
That's what I'm saying. He was taking deep shots. He was pushing the ball downfield. He's always cautious with the football. His turnover numbers, and especially interception numbers, always historically low. 33 touchdowns, 7 picks his last full season in Houston. We haven't seen him have to adapt in a full season to the kind of new era of defense in the NFL where it's a lot of too high safety, dink and dunk. We're going to make you play 10, 11, 12 play drives instead of giving you the big chunk play. Is that something he just has to play through to kind of figure out on his own, or is that something he can kind of game plan and approach differently when he steps in?
He needed to see it. He needed to see what it was like because even for a quarterback as great as Mahomes, when they first did it to him, he was
it
like,
threw him off.
Yeah, Josh Allen, as great as a quarterback it is for him, it throws him off. It's something that you obviously you know they're going to do it because you watch tape. You're like, the coach is going to tell you, like, go play they say these 20, 25 yards deep, so we're going to have to dink and dunk. But the competitive nature in you and who you are as a person, the greatness inside you is like, I don't care if they 50 yards back. I'm going to thread this needle through there. And don't get me wrong, it was some plays that Deshaun made this year. He hit Amari Cooper in triple coverage against Arizona. And I was like, boy, you couldn't have walked over and handed him that ball no better. So he's still got that ability, but you got to be smarter. You got to understand that Arizona wasn't a really good team this year. You do that against, I don't know, the Chiefs or somebody like that, it's probably going to get picked off. So it was something that he needed to go through. I think he'll be much better this year because he's seen it. He's like, all right, this is how guys are playing my guys. But for the Browns, what he had to realize also with the Browns is that they didn't really have no burners like that. So everybody was going to flat foot them anyways. So, hopefully with Jerry Jeudy and Amari Cooper showing you that he still got a little burst in him, and maybe Elijah Moore get a little burst in him, maybe it does make them safeties play a little bit more further back so you can have more room to operate.
What do you think about that, Jason?
When you were talking about checkdowns, this is going to sound stupid.
When they beat Baltimore, he took a lot of them.
He took a lot of them.
Yes.
And that's why I was going to ask are all checkdowns the same?
No. It depends on the coverage and the route. And it depends. It varies. So, like, if it's 5 wide, but you got a tight end in and he's in a grave digger, he'll chip and he'll just space out. You'll go through your progressives and then just throw it there. Sometimes it's the running back out the backfield. Sometimes it's just a drag route. It's a lot of different checkdowns on different plays.
A lot of his checkdowns felt he didn't love the offense last year. Can we agree on that?
Clearly.
I mean, I said it 100 times, and everyone kept telling me I was trying to divide.
Well, that's clear as day.
But clearly he didn't like the offense. Is the checkdowns that you saw out of Deshaun, his uncomfortability with the offense, and is that different than what you're talking about with Mahomes and where they're placing the safeties? That's where I'm trying to get at. Like, are all checkdowns the same? Were his checkdowns because of his shoulder, or because of his uncomfortability with the offense, or because that's what was there for him?
I think that a lot of the times coaches just call plays. They call plays against certain coverages. Because like I say, different coverages is different checkdowns. So if whatever your game planning is, you go through your progression and it ends up being the check down. I don't think it's not something that every play is going to be the running back. Like that's not the case. It's not going to be the running back. It's going to curl over 5 yards. That's going to be that's not it. He could flare out. It could be the tight end. It's different. It's always just something short. Whatever the shortest route is on the play, if it's not the running back, it's going to essentially be the check down. Because defenses are taught to give cover deep to short.
Right.
So if you hit me with a smash concept or something like that, where it's the 7 with the curl, the corner's going to obviously take the 7 cut, which is the corner route. So now the hitch is the check down. Like, that's just how
I feel like we have to go through and rewatch throw by throw in the Ravens game specifically to see if that was a designed short route that he was looking for in his first progression. Was he looking deep? all right, read one's not there, read two's not there, pressure's coming, let me dunk it down.
That's how it's supposed to go.
What I'm saying, but
Yeah.
I don't remember throw by throw if he was just going one step, all right, let me get out my hand, and maybe because the shoulder was injured, maybe because his ankle wasn't, he didn't
We
feel
talking about in the
comfortable planting.
Baltimore game?
Yeah, I'm just using that one as an example because
Yeah, I would have to go back and look at the second half.
Yeah, I don't remember play by play, but I hadn't really thought of it till you were explaining something earlier, Tyvis, but it's just a different era of defensive football since the last time we had seen Deshaun 100% healthy at the peak of his powers. And doesn't mean he can't adjust. I'm sure he'll have no problem adjusting when he stays healthy. It's just we haven't kind of seen him on a week-in, week-out basis dominate against, it's not a new era of defense, but a new kind of defensive philosophy you've seen across the league. Like we know he had dominated the previous one.
But in the same breath, he got to make them fear him again.
Yeah.
Like you got to make the defense fear you a little bit, and that's not just him. That's on his receivers as well. Once Amari Cooper started going crazy, all right, now that fear was back again. Now we need to back up a little bit. But until that point, nobody really feared a lot of stuff that was going. I mean, yeah, you fear Amari Cooper because he's such a great route runner. But it wasn't like these guys was going to burn you deep or really beat you that bad on a route or something like that. So it's up to his playmakers to also put fear in that defense as well, not just all on him.
And a running game helps.
The running game definitely helps.
Back and hopefully healthy will be a major bonus, plus the additions of Deonta Foreman, Naheem Hines, Jerome Ford has another year in this offense. You would assume they have the weapons to be a dynamic offense through and through, and I think Ant's giving me the thumbs up that we have our next guest here. Ant, so you want to do a read, bring him in?
Yeah, let me get in a real quick read here, guys, because I want to remind you as you're buying tickets for this Guardian season and the very end of the Cavs season that you can save 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and everything else with Game Time. All you guys have to do is download the Game Time app and spell out Locked On NFL for 20% off your first purchase. You just have to download it. It's last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Locked On NFL for $20 off your first purchase.
Now let's welcome in Keith Sanchez now of the Locked On Network. He's one of their draft experts. Keith is a 2019 national champion with the LSU Tigers. And Keith, before we get into the draft stuff, your story's fascinating. I was doing a little research this morning. I read an article The Athletic had written on you. In 2021, you were a player personnel assistant, I guess would be the position, with LSU. Then you went to law school to kind of figure out how you navigate the NIL world. And I'm just curious, have you graduated law school, and kind of what are you up to now in that step in the journey?
Yeah, so as soon as I left, that was a bit of a process, man. So I actually decided to go to grad school. I had a couple of agencies reach out to me, and it was kind of like, hey, it would probably be more beneficial if you take the grad school route first, right? And then that way you can go ahead and get your agent's license. So I took that route. I'm graduating in a month, finishing that process, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. And then, just navigating this NIL space, I kind of foreseen that it would be a lot of disruption, right? I think that a lot of people didn't foresee it, and I just knew, obviously working in recruiting, personnel, getting to know the families, the players, and I knew that basically the NCAA kind of just pulling off all of the safeguards, right, and all of the Band-Aids, that it was going to kind of turn into the Wild Wild West, and it has definitely done so.
Awesome. We're thrilled to have you on the show, Keith. Appreciate you making some time. Let's talk a little Browns and what they'll do in this month's NFL draft. They don't pick till 54, so it's impossible to kind of predict what's going to happen in the first 53 picks to know who the Browns will take at 54. But in your mind, if the draft were to play out perfectly for Cleveland, what route would you go if you were Andrew Berry with the 54th pick? A running back, a receiver, offensive tackle, defensive lineman? If all the cards fell right, what would be the ideal A-grade situation for the Browns at 54?
Yeah, I'm about to give a cliche answer, then I'm going to clean it up at the end. And I just simply go best player available. One, because I really feel like after evaluating this Cleveland Browns roster, they have one of the best rosters in the NFL from top to bottom. Secondly, we know that the NFL messes things up, right? And I'm going to count on the other 31 teams in the first round to mess it up. And then thirdly, I'm going to look at it and say, hey, this offensive tackle class is pretty deep. And I think they can find a really good offensive tackle sitting there at pick 54. So I look look offensive tackle first, and then you might want to go wide receiver. But I also believe that this wide receiver core, honestly, is top 3, top 4 in the NFL. So they may not have to address that early. They can wait to the 3rd round to get a wide receiver. So I'm gonna sit back, watch how the board falls, trust my board, my evaluations, my scouting room, and probably go offensive tackle, wide receiver, and then we'll see how even these edge rushers, because we've seen guys like Jared Verse and Laitu Latu for whatever reason now, and I think it's solely based on their 40 time, they're starting to fall. So even maybe an edge rusher like Chop Robinson out of Penn State would be a good complementary piece.
You know, Keith, let's talk about the wide receiver position. Obviously, you know, the Browns traded for Jerry Jeudy, but that doesn't mean that they're, you know, out of the market. Obviously, Amari Cooper is on the last year of his deal. Elijah Moore is on the last year of his deal, and you don't know really what you got with Cedric Tillman and David Bell. So let's look at some of those wide receivers that could potentially fall to 54. Is there one that you like more than others that you think could come into the NFL and make a big-time splash play, make some plays for the Browns?
I like a lot of them, to answer your question.
A lot of people do.
Particular, I like a lot of them, man. And listen, man, if people are going to let Florida State wide receiver Keon Coleman fall due to production, right, and we know that his quarterback was injured, and then they're looking at the 40 time, this is a grown man, look, 6'3", 200-plus pound. And when you cut on the film, you just see that this guy is physically dominant, right? He reminds me somewhere in between a Brandon Marshall and a Dez Bryant, right? Just the physicality after run, their physical presence. And you know, defensive backs, right? The first quarter, they're okay. Second quarter, they're okay. But once they get to the 3rd and 4th quarter, it's like, man, I'm tired of tackling this big body wide receiver. So I like him. I see the graphic. Xavier Legette is also another one of those guys that's a A.J. Brown comp for me. But if you're looking for a route run, and this is a guy that I just finished up his final evaluation, and that's flying under the radar, in my opinion, is Washington wide receiver Jalen McMillan. Obviously, I spent my time at LSU. I watched Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase every single day at practice, and just running in a slot. And I don't know if you guys remember, but when Justin Jefferson came out, right, because he played primarily slot, a lot of people questioned how fast he was. And then he got to the NFL Combine, ran a 4.4, and everybody said, okay, this guy has top-end speed. And I see some of the same things, not comparing him to Justin Jefferson one-to-one, but comparing him from the fact that he's a slot wide receiver with a big body and has speed. So I like Jalen McMillan as a route runner, definitely.
Keith, you broke my heart earlier when you said the Browns can wait to the 3rd round to take a receiver, because they've tried that in the past, and they cannot find receivers in the 3rd round. We've proven that time and time again. If they wait to the 3rd round, it's not going to go well. So I hope that they do go in the 2nd round. I'm pro receiver in the 2nd round. But since we already covered that, we'll pivot for a second. Tackle and guard both, I think, could be areas to look at. They got the 5th-year option on Jed Wills, and you're not really sure what you're going to do there. Right tackle is a little bit of a concern because of DeJuan Jones' size, I think, and injuries could always be a problem. They've got 2 aging guards in the middle that are making about $34 million combined, Bitonio and Teller. Anywhere across that line really sort of makes sense. Is there guards or tackles you like at that spot?
Yeah, there's a couple of them. And honestly, I think this. I don't think, if you look at my board, probably 10 of my top 23 players are offensive linemen, but I don't think that the NFL teams are going to draft that way, right? So I believe that these offensive tackles or offensive linemen as a whole are going to drop. So you look at a guy like the Arizona offensive tackle, Jordan Morgan, right? I believe that he can be a plug-and-play player. But if you want to go down the board a little bit deeper, there's a Yale offensive tackle with 36-inch arms. He came in at 6'5", 300-plus pounds, had an impressive pro day. And then we're talking about developing the prospect. If you given 1 year of sitting on the sideline, sitting behind some veterans, this is a guy that I believe you can buy into the upside for sure. And just rounding it out, another UConn guy, Christian Haynes. He can play center. He can play guard. He's a very scrappy football player. Got a chance to talk to him at the Senior Bowl. And I always try to pull all these guys ready for the NFL, right? Just have that conversation with him from a mentality perspective, and he definitely had it. And to round that out with interior offensive lineman, one of my sleeper guys that I like a lot, Arkansas center Bo Limmer. He played all 5 positions, however you want to look at it, of the offensive line. He's one of those old school offensive linemen that I think are fitting great with the Cleveland Browns, and their mentality has the tape fingers right, bloody, getting after it. So I really like him, and I think he'll fit in right with this scheme.
Non-Browns question, but just a evaluation question, Keith. When you look at quarterbacks, the NFL over the last 20 years, frankly, isn't good at drafting quarterbacks. There's like a 40% success rate on first-round quarterbacks, whether or not they turn out to be any good or just out of the league in a couple of years. You've recruited quarterbacks out of high school and looked at different traits and abilities and the mental makeup. You're now doing it from the college level to the pros. What do you look at as some of the most important characteristics a quarterback can have that translates from success, or translate to success, from the collegiate level to the pro level?
Yeah, it's mental makeup. It's mental makeup. At this point, right, we're talking about first-round quarterbacks. All of them could throw the football, right? All of them could throw it 40 yards, 50 yards. We've seen the pro days from wearing helmets and getting chased around with brooms to, the Zach Wilsons, right, where they're throwing off one leg and launching it 60 yards. So we've seen so many different variations of quote-unquote arm talent. But if you ask me what really makes a quarterback is their ability to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations. And 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be a situation where you're going to a really good spot, right, where they have a good offensive line and a good wide receiver core, and the defense can kind of help you out, and you have good coaching, on both sides of the football. So I look at those guys, your ability to just deal with adverse situations, and I think that's why it's so important, as us as talent evaluators, even though we may not get these one-on-one conversations, pay attention to the interviews, pay attention to the tidbits, and be like, you know what, ask yourself a simple question, like, would I go to war with this guy? And I think that usually guides and dictates, how this quarterback may fare in the NFL.
All right, Keith, you went to LSU, I went to OSU, so we got to put our differences aside here. You've been studying these wide receivers, and the hottest topic is Malik Nabers or Marvin Harrison Jr. Obviously, you know how I feel, I know how you feel, but let's call a spade a spade. Who's wide receiver 1 in this draft?
Yeah, so first of all, I have to give a shout out to the real wide receiver, LSU.
Whoa, hey, don't do that. You can't even say that with a straight face right now. Don't do that.
You guys are both national champions, so I guess there is at least a little bit of common ground between you guys.
Yeah, definitely. It's respect across the board. It's definitely respect. But you asked who is wide receiver 1 for me? That was the question?
Yes, sir.
I'm going Marvin Harrison Jr. and you know this, right? Having played the sport and everything. Sometimes when it comes to drafting, it's just about the floor, right? Everybody looks at upside and big plays and things like that. But Marvin Harrison Jr. is a complete wide receiver, 6'3", 6'4", can run routes, right? He's consistently bracketed. He understands how to beat double teams already, right? And he hasn't even entered into the NFL. Contested catch ability, IQ, ability to adjust to the football. There's nothing that he can't do. Now, there's no knock on Malik Nabers. I think Malik Nabers can step right in and be an explosive option, right? I think whoever has the better rookie year will be dependent on the situation that they go to, because I went to the pro day and I recruited Malik Nabers, but I wasn't there during his career. And I was able to watch him, now that he's been in the LSU program from 3 years, and I'm standing on the sideline at pro day, and I sat there and said, he's one of those ones, right? And we're talking about the Odell Beckhams, the Jarvis Landrys, the Jamar Chases, the Justin Jefferson. And we know this because we get caught up and enamored with 40 time, right? Straight line speed. But what really catches defensive backs off guard, right, is the start-stop ability, right? The ability to change direction, the ability to tempo routes. And Malik Nabers has all of that. So I want to say it's a 1A and 1B, but if you ask me, like, let's say if I'm the Cardinals sitting at pick number 4, I'm rolling with Marvin Harrison Jr. because I think he can play on the outside and play on the inside and flat out get it done. I'm buying into the pedigree, right, him being Marvin Harrison Jr.'s son and what he's proven to me already thus far in his college career.
Go Bucks.
Well done. That's the right answer.
Come on, man.
I'm not even an Ohio State fan. Like I'm totally unbiased in this, but I mean Marvin Harrison Jr. to me might be the best college football receiver we've seen come out, and I can't since Randy Moss. Like, seriously, I think he's that good. Am I crazy?
I mean, we just talked about the LSU thing, man, so obviously I'm a little biased. But I agree, man. I agree. I think if you look at it in totality, yes, just buying into a complete prospect. And with the draft process, sometimes it's just simply about knowing what you're getting. I can envision Marvin Harrison Jr. playing in the NFL because I know exactly what I'm getting out of him. Yeah. He just reminds me of the 6'3", 6'4" version of Devontae Adams, to be completely honest, and that means he's top 5 wide receiver potentially in the NFL.
I want to ask you about the quarterbacks. J.J. McCarthy seems to divide a lot of people on whether or not he's any good in the NFL. I wonder where you fall on that, and just in general, what quarterbacks do you like in this draft?
Yeah, the J.J. McCarthy conversation has taken off, right? And over at the Locked On NFL Draft podcast, I talked about him probably in January, and I said this is a guy that I believe his draft stock will elevate. And I was talking about into the first round, potentially top 20, but then now people saying that he can be the second best quarterback. I'm one of those people that when it comes down to evaluating, that's not just quarterback, but any position, is like I have to see you do it in college first, right, before I can elevate you over some of these other guys. I think J.J. McCarthy can be a really good quarterback. He has the arm talent. You watch that game against Michigan State. He made all of the throws, off-platform throws. They went empty, right? I think part of the context around J.J. McCarthy is the fact that Michigan didn't use him at all. They ran the ball, 30 times against Penn State in the second half, which is crazy to even think about. So I think that's part of the issue with J.J. McCarthy. But I do like him, and if he goes to the right spot, I think he will be a really good NFL quarterback.
Keith, we'll get you out of here on this, but your national champion 2019 with LSU. Coach O was the head coach of that team, and he's quite the character. So I was just curious if you had a Coach O story you might be able to share with us before we let you go today.
Oh man, I don't think I have one, man. I'm going to keep those in the holster, man. I'm going to keep those in the holster, keep those in the locker room.
Fair enough. That is Keith Sanchez.
But I will do this. I will give y'all a Go Tigers. I'll give you a Go Tigers.
Awesome. Keith, we appreciate you joining us. Make sure you check out Keith Sanchez on the Locked On NFL Draft Show and the NFL Draft Network. Keith, appreciate you coming on, and best of luck in the future, man.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
And
Thanks, Keith. Appreciate you, too. I got to read for everybody here. Before we get into our Guardians, a lot of us spend our times wishing we had more time. The question is, time for what? If time is unlimited, what would you use it? Therapy can help you find what matters to you so you can do more of it. What you have to do is sign up for BetterHelp. Learn to make time for what makes you happy with BetterHelp. You guys just have to visit betterhelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. If you're thinking of starting therapy, there's no better way to do it. It's designed for convenient, flexible, and suited for your schedule. Just go to betterhelp.com. That's betterhelp, HELP.com/lockedon. So, guys, the Guardians' home opener was yesterday. It was buzz the town. You know, we were going to lead with it today until our special guest. I wanted to focus on Tristan McKenzie for our topic today, and I have a question for Jason that I did ask him before the show and we kind of got into. After watching every pitch for those first 5.5, 6 innings, how do we feel about him? I'm still not quite sure how I should feel about McKenzie going into the season and if he can fill in those shoes of Shane Bieber.
I mean, you're going to hold your breath every time he pitches, right, under the circumstances. He's got the torn ligament in his elbow. Pitchers are falling left and right, having surgery. I was concerned with him coming off his first start. His velocity was down. His fastball velocity was around 90, 91, and that's trouble if he stays down there. It was up a tick yesterday. He was 91, 92. He had better command of his fastball. Threw a lot more fastballs yesterday. Threw a ton of sliders in his first start. So that's good. 2 strikeouts is concerning against a really bad lineup, and I think he only had, I think it was 6 swing and misses all day. So he's not really fooling guys. So that's a problem. So, I mean, the White Sox are a terrible lineup, and his next time out is against the Yankees, and I think we'll really have a better handle on where this is and where he's going when he faces that lineup. I mean, he did what he needed to do. He pitched, into the 6th shutout innings. That's really good against a major league lineup. But if you look a little bit deeper, again, the velocity was a little bit higher. It's still not quite where you would like it, but improving, so that's good. But the swing and miss was down, and only 2 strikeouts is a little bit concerning.
it's definitely a step in the right direction, but let's not pretend that 90 to 91 to 91 to 92, it makes a difference.
Yeah.
It's not changing a ton. And that White Sox lineup is, if it's not worse than Oakland, I think it is worse. Like, there's no one in there that scares you whatsoever. Their 2 best players, at least their hitters, Jimenez and Luis Robert Jr., both out. He got hit pretty hard yesterday. They just hit the ball right at players in the outfield or the infield, and that's a little worrisome. But at the end of the day, he did throw 5 2/3 innings pitched. He did not give up any runs. He walked more batters than he gave up hits. So you'll take that from him every day of the week. I just don't know if I could take that as a solid, good, quality Tristan McKenzie start, or if he just frankly got really lucky that the White Sox lineup is truly abysmal, because they hit the ball hard a couple times right at guys, and if that's instead of Andrew Benintendi in the 4th spot and Aaron Judge or Juan Soto, who will face next time around, and those guys are swinging at some of those pitches he left hanging, I'm not quite sure it's a 280-foot pop-up
Right.
and not a 420-foot bomb into the upper right field deck. So it's a positive in the step direction, a step in the right positive direction. He looked better in start 2 than he did in start 1. I still didn't think he looked great yesterday, which does give me some concern moving forward because, as we talked about yesterday with the Shane Bieber issue, he decided not to get the surgery too. And it feels almost all too inevitable that we know the outcome of this story before we're even at chapter 3 of it. And that sucks. Travis, what'd you make of it?
So as y'all know, Tristan McKenzie has been my favorite pitcher on the Guardians for the past couple of years, even though he's been hurt. And when I watch him pitch, like everything that y'all said is exactly how I felt. I was like, all right, the fastball, it got up just a little bit, but it still ain't there. And I keep putting in my head, all right, this man hasn't pitched in a long time. Like, he had the one game, and I was hoping that he had the same effect that, like, Logan Allen had or Cookie had. You know, their first one wasn't that great.
They kind of rebounded.
But the second time out there, they was much better.
The same way.
Yeah, I thought that's what I was anticipating. And when he only had the 2 strikeouts, I'm just like, this is a guy who went, like, he had, like, a game where he had, like, 10, 11, 12 strikeouts before. So you can tell that he's not where he needs to be at. Good news is that it's still, 140-something games left, so he got a lot of time to get there. But this was a guy that I was so comfortable with him moving off of Shane Bieber because I'm like, he going to be the next ace, and I can't. That's not ace-like right there. Like, he's got a long way to go before he's considered an ace again. So he's got to figure something out. If he's not going to throw those fastballs up in the higher 90s, then he better at least start making these guys miss because y'all right. They hit him very well, and thank God he got a really good outfield that was there to make plays for him. But I'm not giving up on him. I think I have to see him against the Yankees. You know, if he gets – I'll take 5 to 6 strikeouts against the Yankees. I'll say, all right, he's headed.
Oh, you take that and run with it.
Exactly. So I'm gonna say everybody took 2 starts. I'm gonna say he gets 3.
And that's fair. And listen, he threw 5 2/3 of shutout baseball.
Right.
That's great.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you're gonna take this type of performance with those results, like,
great.
I'll live with that.
The reality is, when we talk about bad lineups, the White Sox have now scored 16 runs in 10 games.
It's bad.
Like 16 runs in 10 games as a team. 1.6. That is the lowest through 10 games since baseball started tracking this in like 1952. So that's a horrific, and I mean horrific, lineup. But you'll take it. And Jason, you were there. I mean, did it feel in the moment of actually being in the presence that it was fool's gold, or did it feel legit being?
It didn't feel like he was dominating. It felt like, again, you're going to hold your breath every time he's on the mound. But this is where it gets complicated. Baseball is in a crisis right now in terms of pitching and injuries, and we've seen Bieber go down. We've seen Garrett Cole go down for a couple of months. Justin Verlander's down with the shoulder. Spencer Strider's down.
The guy in the Marlins. Yui.
One of the top young pitchers in the game. Now he's down. Shane McClanahan last year, Cy Young winner, he went down. He's out all of this year. And it goes on and on and on and on and on. And I've talked at length about, like, the Rays. Well, it's not just the Rays anymore. It's all across baseball. And this is a huge problem that baseball's best arms are going down. And I don't have the answer. I don't know if it's – a lot of people want to make the case that it's the pitch clock. And it's the fact that guys just don't have enough time to recover. You're throwing the ball as hard as you can, 94, 95 miles an hour. You get it back, and now you got to do it again quicker than what you're used to your entire life. You've never been on a timer your entire life. Now starting last year to this year, you're on a timer. It's made the games faster. There's a lot of people that want to argue that it's the clock. Baseball says, no, it's not the clock. We have this study from Johns Hopkins that says it's not the clock. Well, it's one study, and it's still in peer review. But baseball is clinging on to this study as the gospel. So is it the pitch clock? Is it the way that guys train now with these weighted balls? Is it the way that they're throwing sliders and sweepers now that's different than before? Is it a combination of all of that? I don't know. But I know something is different. Something has changed in the way that these guys train, in the way these guys throw, and the way these teams want them to throw. And it's hurting the game ultimately in the long run because the best pitchers and the best stars are no longer out there. And they're not gone for 6 weeks. They're gone for 12 to 15 months.
Yeah.
And it's really 15 to 16 months now. And they've got to get a handle on this or it's going to ruin the game.
Jeff Passan of ESPN, their baseball chef, wrote an article on that this morning about the number of guys who are Cy Young caliber, all-star, and then just good starter. that in the last year and a half have had to either undergo Tommy John surgery. Shohei is another guy.
Shohei's another one, yeah.
But how whatever the elbow issues that.
A lot of it is the UCL, not all of them.
Yeah.
A lot of them, it's the.
But he called it a crisis.
It
He
is.
said it's baseball's crisis that they don't have a good answer for.
It absolutely is.
And he talked about the dueling statements that came out from the Players Association and Major League Baseball, which you just kind of alluded to.
Yeah.
One side is standing on it's the pitch clock, and the other one's saying it's not the pitch clock. And because that's the only issue they want to kind of grasp when it comes to this, there's no kind of middle ground. And he ended his article, I highly suggest you reading it. He unlocked it. It's free on ESPN.com. Was saying, I don't know what the answer is. And I'm not quite sure there is an answer.
Let them juice.
Maybe that is the answer. But
I mean, Tyler Glasnow made the argument it was the spider tack. It was taking away the sticky substance. And they went from.
That's what I think about Karen Check. He be doing this all the time.
Well,
Like,
it went from. You can't use. It went from using spider tack, the really, really sticky stuff with just outrageous spin rates and everything else, to okay, you can't use anything at all. And then Glasnow goes down and has to have Tommy John a couple years ago, and he pointed to that. And he said, you went from giving us everything to nothing. Of course, it's going to make the strain on guys' arms different. So I don't believe it's just the pitch clock.
Yeah.
But I also don't believe the pitch clock has nothing to do with it. I think it's foolish to say it has nothing to do with it, but I also think that this problem started before the pitch clock. I think it's a multitude of factors. There isn't one simple answer. If there was, they could fix it. You could add 5 seconds to the clock, 7 seconds to the clock. Instead, they went the other way, and they took
shorter.
2 seconds off the clock.
From last year, they took 2
So
seconds?
baseball's moving
didn't even know that.
faster.
What is it? Was 20 so it's 18?
AJ,
this
from a
year?
viewer perspective, the game moves like this.
It does. I'm telling
watching
you,
it,
yeah.
I love watching it, but I also don't love watching triple and double A pitchers.
Right.
I want to see Spencer Strider.
Right.
I want to see Shane Bieber. I want to see Shohei Ohtani pitch. And I'm not sure what the trade-off is to make the game more fun from a viewer perspective from TV, to also making sure your best players are on the field to provide said entertainment.
What if they?
But something has to give.
What if they went away with the pitcher's clock but cut it 2 innings instead of 9 to 7?
Jason's more of a baseball purist.
Yeah,
Because I know that was something that they was flirting with.
Well, they did that with doubleheaders during the.
People didn't like that.
Yeah, they did that with
I mean,
doubleheaders.
don't it get you the same results of shortening the game?
It changes the game too much, in my opinion.
I agree because it's nothing better than a 9th inning comeback. Oh my God.
Well, you
But you just lose the time through the lineup, and
you lose the time through the lineup. You can hide if you have a bad bullpen. It's easier to hide it with 7 innings. You get exposed over 9 if you need that extra reliever or two. I just think it changes the game too much. I love the pitch clock. I think you asked me last week, what do you think about the pitch clock? I love it. And like you can watch. I love baseball, and it's watchable again. And it doesn't. And we don't notice the clock as much as we did last year. Last year there was a lot of focus on the clock. This year, no one's really mentioned or talking about it. But you can't run from all of these injuries and think the clock has absolutely nothing to do with it. I think that's naive. So is there a happy medium here of let's have a clock, but let's give them an extra 5, 7, 8 seconds? Will it really make that much of a difference? If you're still keeping games at 2:45, 2:50, is that okay as opposed to 2:30? Yes. To me, yes. That's okay. It's when you get to 3:15, 3:20, 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
And I talked about it before. There's a clip going around of Secretariat runs the entire Kentucky Derby in the time it takes Zach Greinke to throw 1 pitch. That's what you're trying to avoid. But there has to be some sort of negotiation point between that and between where we're at now, where you can build a little bit of time back into it.
I wonder why they came up with 20 or 18 seconds.
I don't know.
Like, why that number? Why
I don't
not
know.
30 seconds?
But they got the result they wanted.
Oh, yeah. They fast. And I love it, but
it's great to watch
I'm
on
with
TV.
you. I don't want to see Triple-A pitching. Like,
Yeah.
that's...
I would take 250 with.
Nah, they all.
Real
If everybody knocking them out the park and it's 23-23, I'll take that.
And Ken Rosenthal for us did a really nice job. Ken and Eno Saris, 2 of our best baseball writers, talked to the Rangers team physician, who actually is the one who's going to be operating on Shane. It's the guy who's going to be doing Shane's surgery.
Why is he going to the Rangers doctor, not the Guardians doctor? Specialists.
Specialist guys have their own preferences. Shane dealt with this guy last year, so there's a comfortability factor.
Because he's signing with the Rangers.
There's a few guys that are always like, there's a few guys that are always the top of their field,
Gotcha.
and everybody goes to those guys. Dr. Neil Elatrash in LA is a big
It was
name.
like James Andrews back in the day.
James
when he
Andrews
was-
back
okay.
in the day. Dr. Thomas Graham, who's affiliated with the Guardians, does a lot of elbows. He did Burrow's elbow. They cross sports and do. You get your specialty. It's whether it's finger, elbow, shoulder, whatever it is. So, but anyway, so Ken and Eno talked to the Rangers team doctor, who said like, this is a full blown crisis right now, and it's what teams wanting out of these guys. Wouldn't it be better? WHIP is walks and hitters per innings pitch. Basically, how many base runners do you have? And teams want WHIPs under 1. And wouldn't it be better if you pitch to contact a little bit more, and maybe it's your WHIP is 1.5 or 1.2, but you're lasting an entire season, and you're lasting deeper into games, or you're lasting 162 games rather than always falling prey to these surgeries. So that's why I sort of hesitate to say with Tristan, well, he only had 6 swing and miss, he only had 2 strikeouts, because the answer may ultimately be
Let him hit it.
you got to pitch to contact a little bit more.
Yeah.
Well, he was
But
pitching in contact with getting rocked.
I was about to
know.
say,
I
like,
know.
There has to be a happy medium in
Yeah,
that,
I was
too.
to
Yes,
say,
and that's
like-
why this is so complicated. There is
Yeah.
no one great answer. It's a really complicated issue.
One more thing in Jeff's piece
That'd be
today.
funny because that probably might be it. Like, y'all just let him hit it.
But when you pitch to contact, it goes 430
That
feet
see,
sometimes.
but he can do that against the White Sox because
Right.
ain't nobody
Well,
really gonna do that.
One last thing that Passon mentioned, and we'll kind of go to the other parts of the game, but every pitcher's throwing every pitch like it's a 3-2 count in Game 7 of the World
Yes.
Series now. Like
Yes.
every fastball is 98, 99 miles an hour. Every slider, even on a 1-0 count, is being thrown with max velocity and intent. And he thinks that he's just speculating once again. He wrote a whole book on this back in 2016.
Yeah.
It has to be updated.
It's a fascinating book.
Great book, yeah.
I have it.
He's a Clevelander guy too, which
Yeah,
I,
he
I
is.
learned,
Solid.
learned recently. But he's like, that could be putting the unnecessary pressure on the elbow. Instead of throwing 20 max pitches per game over a course of 180 pitches, you're throwing 75 to 80. Like, it's just a complete flip of philosophy on how you pitch when you throw your best stuff. Every pitch now is just 100% max, as hard as humanly possible, as much spin rate as humanly
well,
possible.
if that's you're not gonna last doing that.
And
But that's the philosophy of
it's-
Major League Baseball right now.
It's also the training methods, and it's everyone has bought into the Trevor Bauer driveline philosophy of using weighted balls and everything that they've never done before. Gavin Williams is out right now because he hurt his arm on a weighted ball, and that's why they had to shut him down. That's why he's missing basically the first month of the season.
Well, Trevor-
And I see it with my own son. Where I take him to they do a phenomenal job with these kids, but the way that they teach pitching is totally different than the way they taught it 20 years ago. It's completely
I'm
different.
talking like CC just can't grab it with his whole hand and just
Grab with his whole hand. You like that story? Just pick it up and
throw a fastball.
that was a
He
CC
grabbed
fastball.
it just
It
like
was the 5-finger fastball from CC in high school.
No, but it is incredible, and we hope McKenzie stays healthy. The Guardians need him to stay healthy. They don't have a ton of depth behind him. We talked about it yesterday, the options to replace Shane Bieber, whether it's via free agency or call-ups. Like, their top prospects are hurt, Cantillo and Espino. Trevor Bauer was one of the guys we mentioned yesterday as a potential replacement. Him,
That ain't
Johnny
happening.
Cueto,
Oh, they
Zach
they
Greinke.
talking about getting
No,
Trevor?
just looking at the best available
Trevor,
pitchers.
the last pitch we've ever seen Trevor throw in the Guardians uniform, he,
Was it the center
he
field?
turned around and threw it, which was very
It
impressive.
was the
by
most
the way.
demonstrative I've ever seen Tito Francona in public.
It was very impressive
Tito
to do
wanted
that.
to strangle him.
He took that ball and threw it straight through center
it,
field.
yeah.
I was like,
Into the fountains
You
in
know how
center.
far that is?
No, Trevor Bauer will not be coming back to
No.
Cleveland. That's not happening.
Some other things from the game yesterday, though. Stephen Kwan continues to be scorching hot at the plate.
Yeah,
he has
yeah.
3 3-hit games in his last 4. He has 4 3-hit games in his first 10. That ties a franchise record with some guys. You ready to hear these names? Other Cleveland baseball players with 4 3-hit games in their first 10. Reggie Jefferson in 93.
I remember Reggie Jefferson.
Lynn Larry in
Switch hitting first
1937.
baseman. Oh, my God.
Tris Speaker in 1922
Oh,
and
that's
Bill
a name.
Bradley in 1904. That's the 5 Guardians Indians players who have ever had 4 3-hit games in their first 10.
He's at 3.
He has
Quan?
4 now. He has
Oh,
3
he's
in his
at
last 4,
okay.
4 in his first 10. He's tied for second in Major League Baseball in hits this season. The 3 guys ahead of him, all Dodgers, who have played 2 extra games.
Mookie
when
Betts.
Mookie Betts is tied with him. Shohei actually leads the league in hits.
Really?
Mookie and Will Smith.
Is he?
and
Who's
Steven
leading it
Kwan.
in home run? Because he just hit one last
Mookie
night.
leads in home runs.
Mookie lead the
Yeah,
league.
Mookie's having an incredible season to start. But what have you seen from Steven Kwan so far? He's hitting almost 400 on the season. Like I said, 4 3-hit games, 19 hits, 18 hits on the year. He's been incredible through the first 10.
You know what's also up for him is strikeouts, which is
Yeah.
unusual. Zach and I were talking about that in the press box yesterday. His strikeouts are up. And he said, it was funny, he spent the winter working on swinging and missing. And it sounds counterintuitive, but he is so obsessed with contact at all times that he needed to mentally get okay with swinging and missing. Trying to get to more power, ultimately. It's one of the ways of trying to get to more power. And he's having a remarkable year, off to a great start. I should say we're not that far into it to call it a remarkable year, but he's off to a remarkable start. And he just looks like he's going to be a fixture at the top of the lineup. He is what he is. You know what you're going to get. We talked about it before. I think there is more power in there. I think we talked about on the show, if you look at his splits, Altuve early in the year, I don't think he's ever going to become Altuve in terms of home runs.
Altuve's a legit home run hitter.
He is.
He turned into a real power
Yeah,
hitter.
he is. I don't know if that's necessarily Kwan's game, but I mean, he could get to 10. I think Kwan could get to 10
Each row.
for whatever that's worth. It has to be the right 10. You know, just because a guy can hit 10 home runs, well, if he hits a solo homer in an 8-0 game, that's really not doing you a whole lot of good. But if he hits a 3-run homer in a 2-1 game, that matters. So it's not just the numbers; it's when are you getting them. I think Kwan is a terrific player all around, and he's in year 3 now.
Yep.
So probably he's got 3 to go. Because if he was going to sign an extension, probably would have happened already.
So you don't think they're going to extend Steven Kwan?
It would have happened already.
Well, wasn't it the same timeline?
You
as
hurt my
Jimenez?
heart with this. You know that?
I mean, next year he gets to arbitration. Once you get to arbitration,
It's hard.
it's really hard. Like the time to do it is now. And they offered him last year, and it didn't get done.
When is
So-
the ownership officially taken over?
Oh, that's years away.
It's 27.
No, there is no date on it. You mean when Blitzer takes over?
Yeah.
There is no concrete date. The only thing that I've been told is it's years out. It's multiple.
So we
years
ain't paying nobody for years.
Well, listen, I just wrote something the other day, and I totally, I've sort of come around on this. I didn't feel this way a couple of years ago, but when we talk about the pitching crisis going on in baseball, I don't think the Guardians should sign extensions to starting pitchers. Why would you?
So you wouldn't do right by Shane and give him a 1-year deal?
Well, that's different.
Okay.
Because I'm talking.
But he's saying a long-term extension when they first come
Oh,
up.
Right.
yeah.
When you're
Because
buying out the
it's-
arbitration.
Who would be
years,
next in line? Tanner Bybee?
Bybee would be
Bybee,
next.
yeah.
Bybee and Williams would be next, but Williams is a Boris client, so you're not signing him. Bybee got an extra year of service time for winning the Rookie of the Year, so his clock's already sped up. So the last chance to get him probably was right now, was this season.
That's a shame.
But I mean, the way I would look at it right now, and I was a big proponent a couple years ago of, hey, Bieber's a perfect extension candidate because, like Trevor Bauer made $7 million being drafted with a signing bonus in his first year salary. Like he made $7 million. So he didn't have to sign long term. Shane made like $500,000 was his signing bonus. He was the perfect guy to lock up long term, but he rejected their offer. They tried signing him, he rejected it, and they never came to terms. And now here we are today. But I've sort of come around.
So it's not like the Guardians don't at least attempt.
Oh, they try.
No, they tried.
Okay.
Yeah.
But a lot of their deals are very team friendly.
like
the-
Jose.
Jose.
They offer early in hopes that, and it's not a bad strategy, but they offer early saying, you're not making anything now, here's $50 million.
Right.
So they do what the Cleveland Browns do. Pay early.
In
It's
a
different. It's different.
way. But
I mean, they tried offering, and now they've dodged a lot of bullets, the Guardians have. They tried signing Mike Clevenger, and he rejected them. And that turned out to be a save for the team. She tried signing Bieber. He rejected him. Turned out to be a save for the team.
So who's the last pitcher we re-signed?
Kluber and Carrasco, 10 years ago, was the last ones that they actually
10
handed extensions to.
Yeah.
And right now, under the current climate, you look at Tanner Bybee and say, we've got 5 years with him, and then we got to trade him. You look at Gavin Williams and say, we've got 5 years. We're going to have the first 5 years, and then we're going to have to move him.
Well,
That's how you
The
enter
good
and
news
know
is that the ones that they bring up,
well, you can
Be
have
good.
that luxury because
Yeah.
they've done
It's
such a good
good.
job.
But also,
developing.
there's peaks and valleys in this, and Bybee and Williams made it up Espino was supposed to be with him. We know he's had a ton of injuries.
so he's hurt.
But now there's a little bit of a drought
There's a
waiting
gap,
for that
yeah.
next wave. So there's a risk to it.
What
but
about Logan Allen?
he's not in that class. He's a 4-5 starter. Like he's just not in the class of the other guys. But I think if you just approach it as we're not signing hitters are different. But pitching, I wouldn't sign a starting pitcher right now in this climate to
It's so
to a
dangerous.
5-6 year, $50 million
So
deal.
dangerous.
Because they're going to be out for
Because you're
2
gonna lose-
years.
You're going to lose a year and a half. At some point, it's the boogeyman coming for everybody. At some point, you're going to lose these guys for a year and a half.
Who's the last legit starting pitcher? And maybe it might be Garrett Cole, and he might be going through it right now.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of the last guy who's been Cy Young caliber. Robbie Ray was another guy that I forgot to mention, who hasn't had to get Tommy John at some point. Like who's had a sustain? Strider's 25 years old.
Man, I have to see the list. And maybe Cole can, like Cole's shut down right now for 2 months. And
But
then
it feels like he's just delaying the inevitable too.
maybe. I think his is a little bit different than what some of these other guys have, but we'll see. I mean, he may come back in May and have to have it. And now his this year and next year is shot for
Yeah.
him. So, and when your question earlier, that's a good question. I'd have to go back and look at that. I would consider Tanner Bybee the ace of the staff, just because the injury risk is so high right now. It has to be with McKenzie. Like,
And he's better right now, too.
and like nobody saw this coming with Shane. Like the team didn't even see this coming. Nobody thought this was going to be the outcome.
Didn't they say that his first game he experienced?
He had discomfort and pain in his first start.
But he still went out there and
And he
pitched
still
it.
he didn't recover the right way, and Chris Antonetti told us he wanted to stay on track though. He wanted to pitch the second game when his turn came up,
And then reevaluate, right?
and then he excuse me, he knew
That something
wasn't right. Then he went for the MRI, and then he went for the imaging and testing, and then they had their answer.
he shoulda did
but
that.
nobody thought this was
Yeah.
going to be the outcome.
And do you think that came from the first game, or do you think that came from the training?
I think it came from he felt the way it was explained to me is that he felt okay through the winter training, but then, as you know, game reps are completely different than practice reps, and that's true in baseball just as much as it is in football. So with the added force and the added pressure and the added intensity of the game is when the pain came back.
Okay.
He didn't feel it training,
Yeah.
but he felt it in games.
Okay.
So it was a really impressive home opening win for the Guardians. They obviously beat the White Sox 4-0. Back at it today. Last thing on the Guardians, Jose hit a 2-run homer. That's the hardest thing I've seen hit against the White Sox since he knocked out Tim Anderson a couple weeks ago. Shout out to Jose.
Which tweet did you get that one from?
Oh, I have like 7 in tagboard. You can pull them all up. But yeah, that was a hell of a home run last night. And it seemed like Jay mentioned it in the pregame hit he did with us. Mm-hmm. That how they opened up right field by taking out those cargo boxes. Things were going to travel a little more.
I don't know. That's a good point. I don't know what they're going for in right field because they took out the shipping containers.
Yeah, that's a cargo
yeah,
box. That's what I
shipping
meant.
containers.
Yeah.
But now it almost looks like solar panels. So they took the top seats out, and they've got these like panels now over the seats that remain, and there's this big gap between like the solar panels and the top of the stadium. It's not what I was expecting.
Well,
but it will. He's
Either
right.
way, there's
it will
going to be more of a
change.
draft, and that was a hell of a shot. And it looked like it carried. Just from
and-
the TV angle, it looked like it carried.
Progressive Field, I mean, we've got 30 years of data now. The ball doesn't travel well usually in April, early in the season, but it's a true park, and in the summertime, the ball can really carry when it warms up. I hadn't thought of that. But that's a really good point Jay made. I wonder how that'll change the flight patterns of balls without that stuff
It's
there.
the first one we've seen it, obviously the first home game, but first opportunity to see it.
Yeah.
And
He hit the shit out of it.
yeah, it
Like,
took
I
off
don't know-
and kept going and going and going and
Yeah.
going. So, all right, let's get a read. Let's talk a little Cavs before we wrap up with some Super Chats, and we'll talk National Championship in overtime.
Yeah, guys, if you didn't get enough baseball from us today, by the way, you can check out Ultimate Guardians every Monday at 3:30, but you can go watch this morning's from 10 o'clock if you want to see Bull and Zach's reaction to home opener like we all had today. But normally every Monday, 3:30, Ultimate Guardians with Zach Meisel and Adam the Bull.
All right, we'll talk Cavs for a few minutes. The Ultimate Cavs show tonight at 5 o'clock. We'll touch on some different stuff, but the Cavs are limping towards the playoffs right now. They have a home game on Wednesday against Memphis, Friday against Indiana, and Sunday against Charlotte to wrap up the regular season. Right now, Jason, barring what appears to be a catastrophic shift in the thought process within the franchise and a run to the finals, there will most likely be some wholesale changes throughout the organization. Barring that kind of run, can you foresee a situation where J.B. Bickerstaff is still the head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2024, 2025?
Well, that was an odd way of a catastrophic change. It would be a good change.
I know. I didn't word that right. I was trying to get the exact question of how Ant worded it in the chat. But yeah,
he's obviously in danger, right? Like he's in. The water's as hot as it can be, and I think everybody over there knows that right now.
That's a better way to phrase what I did a terrible job.
What have you been here, 4 years? This is 4th season, right?
He came as an assistant to Beeline. John, I got a call 2 weeks into training camp.
Talk about the
Beeline is miserable. I was like, we're 2 weeks into training camp. I can't write that.
Talking about the guy who said they look like thugs. Play
2 weeks into training camp. I got the first call I got.
That has to be the earliest SMS call
ever. Like even Blatt lasted longer than that. 2 weeks into training camp, I got a call. Hey, John's miserable. He's regretting this. I'm like, that's not good.
He hasn't gotten a job since, has he?
No, he's retired. Okay. I think he might be back at Michigan or in the college ranks or something. I don't know. But he lasted. He made it all the way to the All-Star break before he said, "You know what? Keep the money. I'm out." So JB was his lead assistant. That's how he first came here. Then, so that would have been, what year was that? So 18. Ty was fired at the start of the 18-19 season. So then John would have been hired 19-20. So JB would have taken over the All-Star break of 19-20.
So he had all of 2021, all of 2022. So this is 4.5 years for JB.
Yeah. So, that's funny. But back to the original. I mean, they'd have to go on a pretty dramatic run here. Like they absolutely have to win a series for sure,
at minimum.
And like, if you want to make the case, if they win a series, they will have progressed every year. They will have gotten deeper every year. They went from the play-in to the first round, lost in the first round. And if they win a series, you can objectively look at this and say this team has incrementally, they've gotten better every year.
So is that enough to keep his job?
The problem is the Donovan situation. That's what hangs over.
Donovan is leaving.
Everything.
I don't.
Yes,
I don't care what they do.
I know that. but we can't say that yet.
Until it happens, though.
Donovan is I've been already working under the operation that he's not going to.
But until it's official, you can't make any wholesale sweeping changes because that is the first domino that has to fall.
But my thing is, whether he stays or goes, look at is JB the answer?
Listen, I got some stats.
Okay.
And there's one in particular that stands out to me when you look at JB's overall tenure. You go throughout his career. Now he coached in Houston. He's been a coach in Memphis. Been a coach for the Cavs. He has 7 seasons being a NBA head coach.
He had some really bad teams, and he's had some pretty good teams.
So this is big picture. It takes it all into account. His record before the All-Star break, his career record, all his stops combined.
So all 7 stops. Before the All-Star break.
In seasons before the All-Star break, he's essentially a 500 head coach. He's 146 and 151 pre-All-Star break. And this is the graphic I made if you want to pull it up. It's the very last one of the show.
That ain't really fair.
I was going to say, but
because Memphis, you ain't working with nothing. And what was the other place?
Houston was really bad.
You'll see the comparison in a sec, though.
Okay.
Before the All-Star break, his teams, Memphis, Houston, and Cleveland, 146 and 151 before the All-Star break.
Okay.
After the All-Star break, they are 73 and 121.
That's bad.
That's
terrible.
Off before and after the All-Star break. And you could look at this in a number of different ways.
Can't finish.
6 out of 7 years he's been a head coach. His teams have had a worse win percentage after the All-Star break than they had prior, which means they're not finishing the season strong. You want to be playing your best basketball in April and March, heading into the postseason, not in December and January, which has been the case this year. They're going that 18-2 stretch. They're 11-16 in their last 27 games. It has not been the way that you want to end the season. They've had injuries. There's a million different contextual components you can bring to this. The schedule is more difficult. The reality of the situation is they are 11-16 in their last 27. They rank in the bottom 10 in both offensive and defensive net ratings since the All-Star break. They haven't been good enough. And there are different coaches who are good at different things. And I think J.B. Bickerstaff, and he reminds me a lot of Kenny Atkinson with the Nets before they ended up getting Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Coaches have different coaching styles that resonate with different kinds of players. And I think J.B. was the right coach for this team back in 2020 and 2021 when you had Darius, who was up and coming. And you had Jared Allen trying to find his way. And you
He's
had
a good starter coach.
A good starter coach, where he coaches guys hard, he demands they play defense, he practices hard, and he expects his veterans to practice hard. And that doesn't always necessarily mesh with guys who are more established in the league. And there are guys who come from different situations who are used to practicing and doing things one way.
LeBron.
Exactly. LeBron's not going to practice hard night in and night out. I don't
They
think
say-
J.B. Bickerstaff would be a good coach
Kyrie
for a
said that
LeBron-led
they used
team.
to, they was walking in practice.
So there are certain coaches that with certain teams can take you to a level that then you need another coach to take you to the next level. And I go back to the Warriors. Mark Jackson was the assembler of the Warriors foundation that's
He
now
was.
won 4 championships. Mark Jackson doesn't have 4 rings if they don't make that switch. Steve Kerr was the guy who the Warriors needed to take that crop of talent, make the necessary changes, switching David Lee out of the starting lineup, putting Draymond in to lead the Warriors to the start of their dynasty. I'm not saying someone can come in, take this current Cavs roster, and do the same thing that Steve Kerr did when he replaced Mark Jackson, but I'm just not sure if J.B. Bickerstaff has the right coaching philosophy for the current mesh of players they have on this team, if that's a fair enough way to put it.
I mean, I like that because it makes a lot of sense. At the end of the day, they got. This is what I'll say. This is because right now I think the Cavs is. If the playoffs started today, the Cavs are slotted to play the Knicks, right?
Yeah, 5-4 matchup.
Okay.
The 4-5, they're the 5.
If that was the case and he was able to win that matchup, maybe that'll buy him some extra time. Maybe, not for sure. Maybe. But I think it's inevitable. I think that I think that he's lost the locker room. I don't like.
It's not a good look that guys were questioning their defensive strategy.
Like
after the LA game.
that.
Did you see that?
They literally just what were they up by the Clippers like?
26.
Yeah, like
26.
come on, man. Like you can't collapse like that. Like it's just.
It's not all.
And then it's like the player. Don't get me wrong. Darius finally been starting to hit some shots lately, but a lot of players just ain't been playing to where they supposed to be, especially at the end of the season. Like, it's supposed to be a certain way that you play to make sure that you geared up for the playoffs. And a lot of people took their foot off the accelerator. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I said, Darius put his foot back on it the last couple of games, but you should never have to go through that. And a good coach would never let that happen. He would demand the greatness out of them week in, game in and game out. And that's just not what you're getting. So I think it's inevitable. And like I said, it don't matter what they do. I think Donovan is gone anyway. So
It's not just on JB, by the way. Like, the players are.
No, it's not just on him. They got to buy in too, for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of it's on them, for real. Because at the end of the day, I think you can overcome coaching.
Listen,
sometimes.
JB didn't go 1 for 13 down the stretch against LA. They got some good looks during that stretch, and they missed shot after shot after shot, and a bunch of those were shots that you would hope players of the caliber who were shooting would make. That's not all on JB. Now, he's certainly part of the equation of why they've been so frustrating and disappointing down the stretch, but to put it all on one person, I think, is an unfair evaluation of why this Cavaliers team right now isn't as good as we hoped it would be with 3 games left in the regular season.
Their best pieces don't fit together. I think I think we can definitively say that by now. Like,
the core 4.
Donovan and Darius, it seemed to work okay last year. It's not working this year.
Sorry to cut you off, but just the numbers on that, and I want you to continue. The numbers tell a different story than what your eyes tell you. The numbers actually with those two on the court, going back to last season, it's like good net rating.
Yeah.
Offensive rating through the roof. Defensive rating not that bad, but
Yeah.
you watch it, and it doesn't match up. And that's one of the few instances where I love numbers. You guys know me. I love stats. I don't believe the stat on that one. I don't care what the net rating says. I don't care what the lineup tracking says. I understand they have to play together with this construction of the team, but I just don't think it's a long-term viable backcourt that you want to build around.
And Jared and Evan is the same way. Like it just doesn't look like they fit together, and that's why they have to keep staggering these guys. And when your best players can't be on the court at the same time together, that's a problem. And so there's.
So do you trade them?
You're gonna have to make some. Let's let this play out. Because I don't want to be over dramatic. It's obviously not trending in the right direction, obviously, but let's give it another week or two and let's see how this goes.
Let's say they go to the playoffs and get swept 4-0.
there's going to be massive changes.
Yeah.
Massive.
Okay.
Roster, coaching, from the top down, there will be massive changes. If they get swept again, if you trade for Donovan Mitchell.
We got swept last year. We didn't lose 4-1.
4-1.
4-1.
Oh, okay.
If you don't make it out the first round.
If you trade for Donovan Mitchell and you don't win a playoff series in 2 years,
You win one. Yeah, I mean,
there's
that
a
would be-
lot
yeah.
of changes coming.
Yeah.
A lot of changes.
Well, let's
coming.
hope that that's not the case. Let's hope that they.
And that's
they
why
get
I want to see it play out. If they beat the Knicks in the first round,
Oh, that's huge.
it's time to be on fire.
Yeah.
Like, nobody care about everything we're talking about right now.
I agree.
And then, like,
If they bow out in the second to the Philly, the Celtics or the
play
Bucks,
the Celtics in the
something
second
like
round.
that, they'll be like, all right, that's cool. That's a successful season.
and then if they get swept in the second round, I don't know. But again, it's progress.
Then what?
It's
If
linear
that happens,
progress.
if they go to the second round and play Boston and get completely swept in the first round, JB will be fired immediately, and
the
they'll say,
second round.
and they'll be like, McNuggets is right. He can get you. He's got them where they needed to be as far as how to play, how to be good. But we need
But
somebody to take them to the next.
I
step.
don't know what coach can fix some of the roster fit that they have. I don't know if that's a coach.
Oh no, they're gonna have to. Make
I'm not
that.
saying keep them or fire them either. There's plenty of a case to fire them, but I'm just saying, I don't know that a coaching change fixes
Roster issues.
some of the roster issues.
Yeah,
that
the
they
pieces.
have. I think that they're going to have to make some trades this summer.
Maybe
If it continues trending this way.
Well,
like, I
let's once it's Darius, Mobley, and Allen, because the other one I don't even, like I said, I don't even count him.
Yeah.
I don't even count him. So it's gonna be those
Like,
three.
you're not using his name anymore? Is he Voldemort? Like,
Donovan?
okay.
No, I don't count him. I just don't count him.
So you say he's 100% out.
I think so. I personally think so.
based on, and I'm not disagreeing with you at all, by the way, but I can't, like,
Why? Why? Like he finally will be a free agent.
He's not a free
he's
agent.
not a free agent.
Well, he wants to go to New York. Like that's just been what it is.
But are you basing that on body language you see on the floor? Because you played sports at a high level, so you know these guys.
Donovan is one of those guys that when he first got here, he was literally all in. There was nothing he wouldn't do. And now it's sometimes when you watch him play, and it's hard to
He's
tell
hurt right
because
now.
he's hurt. That's
he's
like
hurt.
that's part of the problem. Why I
hurt.
can't really fairly tell it, but you can. It just
Donovan's the ultimate
You know,
professional.
like,
he's
it-
not going to say
Nah,
anything.
he not,
That's
but
going to
you-
tip his hand. You're not going to see anything on the court that's going to tip his hand. If he wants to go to New York or Miami or LA, he's the only one right now that truly knows what he wants. He's not going to give us any inkling, any crumbs. He had a chance after Dan Gilbert made the comments last week to say, yeah, there's a good chance. He said, I'm not commenting this one way or another. No comment you could say is as telling as a actual comment, but he's not going to tip his hand either way, Tyvus. Ant, we got some super chats to wrap up here.
Yeah, so I got 4 super chats actually, all from Charles T. 2 of them have to do with traffic, so I'm gonna read these 2 first.
With
He said
traffic?
He was in South Paulo a month ago, and it's known for the worst traffic in the world. So bad that it's the first place that has Uber helicopters. From 6 p.m., it will take you 3 hours to go 16 miles. Airport's east
crazy.
of the city center, 3 hours east. Hold on one second, sorry. So yeah, the airport is 3 hours east of the city because it's 16 miles, and then the east center to the west center is 2 hours. And the city wasn't built for common people to have cars, and recently laws passed so everyone has to have a car.
That is absurd.
I've only seen an Uber helicopter one
That
time.
is absurd.
And it was in Dubai.
I'm
It
glad
cost
the Browns aren't going
$3,000.
to Brazil anymore. I'm glad.
All right, I got 2 more from him.
Seriously.
NFL probably just realized even Uber Hello takes you at least. Oh, this is another driver one. My bad. It takes you at least an hour unless your hotel has one. Driver told me that the traffic is like that from 800 to 1800, which I don't know military time. I'm sorry.
6 to 6.
And then he
No,
says
it's
8 a.m. to
defensive tackle.
6 p.m.
He said 800, right? 1800.
800 to 1800, right? 800 to 1800?
800 to 1800.
Oh, I
800
thought he
is 8
said
a.m.
1800 to 1800. Excuse me.
I was like, how'd you get 8? All good.
I
Eight,
use a
yeah.
normal clock like a normal person. I'm sorry.
What's the last
Uh,
one at?
Defensive tackle and defensive end doesn't make any sense because they would need to cut people that they just re-signed for them.
Unless you're getting rid of Siaki Ika.
If they draft, listen,
They don't cut dudes in year 2. They held on to Anthony Schwartz for 2 years.
No.
They'll hold on to
I'm,
anybody for 2
I'm
years.
just saying that's if they go. That's the guy you're probably getting
Ika
rid of.
would, if they cut Ika, I mean, he'd probably be, he's a practice squad candidate because don't nobody know nothing about him.
I'm just saying, the guy, is that Charles T. who said that?
Yeah.
Yeah, to his point, if they draft a position like that, they're going to have to make a cut on someone you would assume that they've already re-signed. They have a deep rotation of defensive linemen, both on the edge and at tackle. I think we've ran down 9 names.
One of them ends is going to slip, and they're going to have a hard decision to make. They're going to slide down, because it happens every year. Some great player slides, and you got to make the decision.
Would you be more surprised if the Browns traded up in this draft a couple spots or traded back significantly?
Surprised?
Yeah.
If they traded up. Anytime they trade up, I'd be surprised.
But like 54 to 47, because they really
I don't care if it's 54 to 53. I would be shocked.
How many picks do they have?
5.
5 picks.
They are notorious for trading back.
They are, but do they have the roster spots available to trade back?
And does this class
Unless
fit?
it's future picks that you're trading back for.
Probably.
I would be surprised if they. How about this? I'd be surprised if they traded back for picks in this draft. That would surprise me.
I said this a couple weeks ago, but because this is the COVID draft, there's not a lot of guys that fit into Andrew Berry's proverbial age guideline draft rail liners because of how old and depleted the second half of this draft is. I think they're going to make a move. Go up, get your guy you want in the second, call it a day. Whether it's 1 or 2 guys, come out with 2 studs, feel good about it.
I mean, how many rookies are on the 53 next year?
3, 4 tops. Tops.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a joke, like legit tops.
Yeah.
They don't have the roster spots. And what are we doing overtime?
We're going to be talking about the NCAA final last night that I definitely fell asleep during. So hoping you guys watched.
Peace.